Little separated Carlton and Adelaide in the early betting for the 1995 AFL Premiership. How times have changed. After 14 rounds, Carlton is on top of the ladder and assured of playing a prominent role in this year's finals. Adelaide has lost its last 2 matches in Melbourne by 218 points, hasn't scored more than 3 goals in a quarter in its last 10 quarters, and is 11th on the ladder. Today from Princess Park in Melbourne, Carlton and Adelaide on AFL Saturday.
Good afternoon and welcome to Melbourne, live around Australia on 7 Sport for this game, which is round 15. And round 15 marks the portion of the season where, at the completion of this round, everybody will have played everybody else once. And then next week they start with the opponents they had in the first 6 weeks of the season. There's Peter Dean with the elbow guard, today playing his 200th game. He represented the state earlier this season and would be up there in the voting for the best and fairest. A magnificent season. Well, if today is anything like last night, what a game it should be. When round 15 started at the MCG last night, we started off with Richmond and Essendon, and they played an exciting draw. There were 76,000 people there, 15 goals, 11 each. The Bombers kicked the first 4 goals, then the Tigers came back and led with a minute to go, and Essendon kicked the last goal of the night to snatch their second draw of the season. 3 other games being played today.
Premiership season, brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors Australia, Qantas, McDonald's, Mobil, Carlton Draft and National Australia Bank.
Well, Gerard Healy, according to the bookmakers, Carlton are the hottest favourites this round and Adelaide the longer shots, but you just never know. After last night, who knows?
No, well, a great night last night and a fantastic exhibition by 2 teams. And I guess if the Adelaide Crows are going to improve, they could have taken some inspiration from both of those sides last night. I don't think they're as bad as their performance in the last 2 weeks has indicated. In fact, I think they're a very good football club. And the last couple of weeks has just been a glitch in what's going to be a very successful and long history for a good club. But certainly this is, they're at rock bottom and they can only go one way.
And let's have a look at the Carlton squad, who have lost only 2 games this year, interestingly, to outsiders St Kilda and Sydney.
Yeah, they've made 2 changes. Ben Harrison from Tasmania comes in for his first game of his career, and also Lynn comes in for Hannah and Manton. They've got a very good lineup, solid back line, excellent forward line, and a midfield that contains 2 players I've selected as key players today in Brett Ratton and Anthony Koutafidis, who both are having fantastic years. Would be Brett Ratton's best year to date. He'll probably get the job on Andrew Jarman. He's basically replaced Greg Williams as their permanent centreman. And here's a fellow that does look a star. Koutafidis, he's got just an enormous ability, long, strong hands. He can handle the ball in one hand. And there's Andrew Jarman, who they'll be pitting their skills against. And great to see him back in the Adelaide side.
Back after suspension this week, Andrew Jarman, and boy do they need him after losing their last 2 games by 218 points.
Made 6 changes, the Crows. Jarman, McCartney, Lee, Pittman, Powell and Visca back into the side, and I think a couple of those inclusions does give them some steel. But one of their big problems has been in the middle of the ground. They've been belted out of the centre in the last couple of weeks, and the key players I've selected will go some way, hopefully, to rectifying that situation in Andrew Jarman and David Pittman. Andrew Jarman, I'm sure, just made a promise to himself that he was going to get himself as fit as he possibly could at the start of the year, and his form has reflected that, because he's probably been Adelaide's best player in what's obviously been trying circumstances. But he will have a good role, a good duel in the middle, and hopefully he'll get some feeding from David Pittman, who will bolster their big man's strength.
Good crowd here today at Optus Oval. Obviously 95% of them will be going for Carlton. Well, they've had some wonderful days here at Optus Oval in the past, but nothing can eradicate their finals fade-outs in the last couple of years until they get to September. We'll see how they go then. We'll be back here for the start of this game after a short break.
The World Athletic Championships live from Gothenburg, August 5 to 13, exclusive to 7 Sport.
Oval here at Carlton on a sunny day in Melbourne for this game between Carlton and the Adelaide Crows. There's Connell, looks like a last-minute change to his boots. And down on the boundary line, oh, courageous performance. He's been with them every week. It's Neil Curley.
Hi, Drew. How are you?
Are you doing it hard?
Oh, not really. It's a fantastic day to be here today. The weather is unbelievable for Melbourne in the middle of July. And I think this game of footy is going to be a lot closer than people anticipate. I know the Crows have been woeful in the last 2 weeks, but in the rooms for the game, there's a bit of a different feeling there. There's a much tighter feeling, and I think they're ready to have a real go today. I really hope so, anyhow. Some of the lineups, of course, Rashido will start at full forward. I think you'll find Jamison will start on Kernahan. Smart will pick up Spalding, and I think there'll be a couple of interesting matchups around the ground as well.
Okay, here's the toss of the coin between Tony McGuinness and Stephen Kernahan. Although we're going to have another toss of the coin.
Very muddy out there.
Umpire Craig Durham there, number 15. Yes, okay, what about your selection? Will you go for the Crows this week?
No, you couldn't pick the Crows in the last 2 weeks' performance. You'd have to select Carlton, but I think this is going to be a closer game than, as I said, a lot of us expect.
Okay, thanks, Curls. Carlton on top of the ladder. Adelaide in 11th position on the ladder. Another former South Australian with us is Malcolm Blight in the call. Afternoon, Malcolm.
Good afternoon, Drew. How are you?
What do you reckon?
Yeah, look, I agree with Curls a bit. I think that Carlton should win the game, but I wouldn't be surprised at all that they've got a fair bit of shellacking this week in Adelaide of the Crows, and when they've done that in the past, they've actually bounced back and performed pretty well.
Just going to the bench for the Adelaide Crows, it looks like Scott Lee, Pesh and Sean Tasker.
Of course, Sean Tasker coming in to replace Simon Tregenza.
And Barry Mitchell just heading to the boundary line, along with Ben Harrison and Tony Lynn.
Ben Harrison playing his first game today, a recruit from Devonport. Nigel Smart is peeling away, and Rod Jamison going with Stephen Kernahan.
In the middle for Adelaide, you've got McDermott, Jarman and Connell. And that's where this game could be won or lost.
Umpire David Howlett gets us underway at Optus Oval, and Adelaide going right to left in the first quarter. Jarman back from suspension, gets the first kick. McLeod takes the mark right in front, 35 metres out. What a start for the Crows.
Interesting setup with McLeod just sitting in that hole. That's where most rush kicks come out of the centre square. Kevin Bartlett was a classic at just sneaking into that spot. And you see there that Andrew McLeod has just done that. The forward always seems to read the play just that little bit better under those circumstances. Perhaps he's looking for it more than the defender.
McLeod beating Whitehead there. McLeod 45 metres from goal with his kick. Full points. Great start to the Crows. And there are some Adelaide supporters here, and they're having a good time of it in the first minute.
Well, one of the great difficulties for a visiting side as Adelaide
on the ground, trying to push the ball forward. McGuinness is caught. Very tight in there. Very scrambly piece of play. Williams on his hands and knees gives it out to Camporelli. Wide to Christou. Christou in the running. Bradley sockers the ball off the ground in front of him. Very clever in play indeed. Bit slippery here. A lot of rain during Melbourne during the week. Connell sets up Jarman. Jarman inside to McGuinness. Can't handle it. Onto his right foot. Under pressure. Kicks the ball forward. Dean in his 200th game with a veteran. Great push towards the boundary line and out of bounds.
And as expected, Dean is picking up McCartney. Interesting in the middle that Craig Bradley is picking up Andrew Jarman, so he'll be trying to run off the slower Jarman.
McCartney doing the ruck work for the Crows. The ball falls over the back, and Anderson and Mackay held up. Anderson, Craig Durham.
There's Anderson on screen, and he's got it looks like a roll on Anthony Koutafidis.
Umpire decides to throw it up. Pretty unusual from that spot. Must have thought it was too damp. McDermott, as he so often is, underneath. Williams with him, and a fairly untidy piece of play there. Just outside the 50-metre line, Adelaide Crows leading 1 goal to Carlton 0.
Yeah, look at the mud on Chris McDermott already, and the umpire throwing the ball in the air once more. Madden, game 301. Gets it going Carlton's way. Camporelli takes it towards the boundary line, is met very solidly by Smart, and you can tell from things like that that the Crows are having a dip here today. Bright sunshine, but pretty damp and soft underfoot. Madden and Pittman. Good to see David Pittman back for the Crows. Ball comes underfoot. Williams dragged down when he didn't have the ball, and will take the free kick. Greg Williams goes the short pass up to a true centre wing position where Brett Ratton takes the mark. The kick short of half forward. Brown nudged underneath the ball by his opponent. The hand pass comes out. It was pretty good. Spalding fumbles under pressure. Smart tries to go off the ground. There's Clappe. He's over the ball, and the umpire will ball it up just outside the 50 on the front edge of the centre square.
And just a correction there that it's actually Anderson on the half-forward flank being picked up by McKay, and Ben Hart appears to be on a wing on Anthony Koutafidis.
Tremendous amount of players, 30-odd players around this ball. Madden knocks it forward. First back is Tyson Edwards. Gives it off to Jamison. Jamison on his left foot goes wide. Mark Bickley playing in front. Takes a well-judged mark low down in front of Dean Rice. Plays on quickly to McKinnon. McKinnon on the left foot. Goes back in the McLeod direction. Over his head to McCartney. A lot of players slipping over with their footwear. Jarman clever. Was he legged? Play on called the umpire. And Bradley mops up for the Carlton side. Goes towards the boundary line. Koutafidis and Hart. Oh, sensational mark by Anthony Koutafidis in super form with the best on ground performance last week. Goes short. Justin trying to do the same. Can't handle it. Then gives the ball away to Jarman. And Jarman cleans up. Powell over the top. Just an untidy piece of play here. Great tackle. And called holding on. So Clappe will take this free kick after a terrific tackle from Pittman, and I thought was a bit stiff, Drew.
It's pretty hard on the player when the ball spills. The player should be allowed to complete the tackle.
Yes. And this is being called back again.
50 metres.
50-metre penalty.
So it's a certain goal for Clappe.
Well, I must admit, I looked at Pearce leading. He's actually becoming a key forward, isn't he, for them, young Brad Pearce?
Yeah, 4 goals last week. Could have kicked probably 8. And that's one of the strengths of Carlton. Between them, Kernahan and Pearce kicked 10 goals last week. And when you've got a 2-pronged forward line that returns you that dividend, you're pretty hard to stop.
Matt Clappe kicks and kicks truly. First goal to Carlton. Scores are tied up.
Foot and is bowled over and will take a free kick, Brett Ratton. Bradley was flat-footed in the middle. Good enough to get it to Whitehead. He finds some space. Whitehead inside the 50. Kernahan taken out of the contest. Clever mark taken by Visca. But the whistle's gone, and I did say that Kernahan was taken out, and he'll take the free. Stephen Kernahan, a South Australian playing against a heap of South Australians. And there's the free kick against Jamison. Kernahan has come in short with his kick. A 15-metre kick which has been marked by Williams. He would be no closer to goal. And across the face, Pearce. Pearce marks 40 metres out.
Well, great lead and great delivery there by Greg Williams. They've got this forward line working like a machine now. They just keep the space open for Pearce, and he's so quick that he's going to get away from most players. And Martin McKinnon really was given no chance at all to defend that one.
Pearce should go from here. About 35 metres out. It's perfect.
True, that's a wonderful kicking style, Gerard, isn't it? I mean, it's a very smooth approach to the goals and just wonderful style.
Yeah, and it's amazing that Greg Williams for so long was regarded as the best handballer in the competition, but he's a player that improved his kicking skills as he got older. Towards the end of his career, he's already a Brownlow medalist and then started working on it. Now he's one of the best kicks on either foot in the competition.
So we're back in the middle. Carlton by 6 points. 14:40 to go in the quarter. Tapped out by Pittman. Well read by Mackay. Swings wide. Out in the path of Rice in front. Great punch from behind by Ben Hart. And the ball goes out of bounds. Oh, almost 100 metres away from the Carlton goal, but certainly to their advantage. The Crows goals, I should say. Ben Hart, 21 last week. 77 games already. Young veteran. Pittman very good with the left hand. Koutafidis taps it forwards. Rice over the top of Bickley, and the umpire will call for a bounce. And the ball really hasn't moved from that out of bounds throw in. 2 goals Carlton, 1 goal Adelaide. 6 points the margin. Madden gets rid of Pittman and pays the penalty with a free kick going to David Pittman. Time to get the ball back. Gives it off to McDermott. McDermott kicks long, and a 50-metre penalty's been given. So the umpire's certainly in the play here with 250 metres in the first 5 or 6 minutes.
The first one produced a goal.
And David Pittman, tragically, really Gerard, in that state game, of which it was a great Victorian win, but David Pittman played pretty well early.
Yeah, I think he did, particularly in the tap-outs, a pretty good job against Damien Moncourse. Perhaps just slightly overshadowed around the ground, but it was unfortunate for both him and the Adelaide Crows that he did get injured, because he was in pretty fine form at the time.
It's amazing, isn't it? The guy that probably might not have played if Wren hadn't have been injured, all of a sudden plays state football and grows a leg. And he's got great skills too for a big man. So from 30 metres out on a 45-degree angle, David Pittman lines up, kicks, and I would suggest his kick truly, yes, second goal to the Crows.
Whitehead gets the hand pass out. Camporelli off the left boot, thumps it long to full forward. Very wide. Pearce too late to get back there, and the mark is taken in defence by Edwards. Tyson Edwards playing his 5th AFL game. The kick to centre half back, and he had to stand his ground, but Connell did it well to take the mark. To Bickley, straight through the centre corridor to Visca on the cricket pitch area. Kick by Visca. Rasciuto's there. Punch by Silvani. Christou. McKay. And back to Sexton.
Oh, come on.
There's a free kick going to be paid, so advantage to Carlton. Kick by Sexton to Rice on centre wing. Smothered. Edwards. And we gave it to McKinnon, who was under pressure. And the hand pass comes back to Pearce from Clappe. Up short of the 50. Beautiful hands by Jarman. Matt Connell. Hart. Kick by Hart across the half-back line. Slightly misses the target. Here's Camporelli inside the 50. Scott Camporelli, run on the right boot. Keeps it low for Kernahan, who shepherds it into the post. And the Blues lead by a point.
If you're going to kick the ball across goals, you've just got to be confident that you're going to pinpoint the pass. You can't turn it over like that one.
Jamison kicks the ball for himself from the kickoff and goes straight down the centre of the ground, running onto it. Camporelli gives it off to Christou. Christou with a crowd behind that. Ooh. Williams, McDermott falls to ground. Players in over the top of it again, and once again there's been a few of these packs performing, and a free kick has been picked out. It's going to Mark Visca. Visca wheels around on his right foot. Mrs. Pittman really should have hit him then. So puts Pittman under pressure. He's dragged off the footy, and the umpire's fallen for an Academy Award performance, but pretty well a good experience then from David Pittman to get the free kick, hand it off quickly. McCartney just can't hang on to it. Christou intelligent tap back to Dean. Dean onto his left foot, chips short to Fraser Brown. Brown just backward of the wing. Defensive side for Carlton. 99th game for Fraser Brown today. Earl Sporting underneath the ball. The Crows came at him very hard indeed. Anderson to Bickley. Bickley kicks the ball back 35 metres from goal, and a great punch from behind by Silvani goes to the safety of the boundary line. Christou keeps it in, backs himself in. The ball now wobbles across the goal square. Silvani has to go back the other way. They're in all sorts of trouble. Christou take it out this time. No, they won't. The defence, can you believe that, did not play 1% and got away with it. Pushed out by Mackay. Terrific battle with him and Anderson. And an exciting piece of play across the back line for Carlton. The Blues are on fire.
Now, Malcolm, if you were coaching then, what would you have done when the Blues did that fancy stuff out of defence?
Well, most people would have thought I would have enjoyed it, but it actually is hair-raising stuff at times, isn't it?
That's saying something.
Big pack around this, maddened slightly. The hand pass out of bounds and a throw-in. So we've had 2 goals already in a 4-goal game, decided by 50-metre penalties. Adelaide are kicking with the breeze. A slight wind, says the forecast. We've reached our top of 15, but it's sunny. And a top day in Melbourne, really. Pittman's hand pass intercepted by Brown. He kicks back into the pack, has to do it all again. Caught by Jarman, pulled off his kick. McGuinness, oh, well played, McGuinness. His little left footer down towards the pocket. Rasciuto leads the race, gets a bad bounce. Silvani there leaves it for Dean, who hand passes in front of goals. They've done it again, the Blues. Christou looked hurt at the bottom of that pack. Oh, Sexton hand passed out in front. Rasciuto, what are they doing, the Blues? Anderson off the left, and it's touched right on the line by Peter Dean. And the Blues and Parkin would have had their hearts in their mouths there.
Well, one of the traps, of course, Drew, is that you try and play champagne football, which the defence of Carlton is doing at the moment. It eventually will come undone. If it's not this quarter, it might be next. It might be next week. But you just can't get away from the fact that percentage football is the way to go.
Dean's kick to Christou. Christou in front of the running Sexton. So we're just under 10 minutes to go in this first quarter. Sexton caught on his left foot again, kicks along the boundary line, and Ratton McDermott take the ball across the line and out of bounds. Just 5 metres or so round from the goals for Carlton.
We spoke briefly, Malcolm, about the height of the Adelaide Crows, and you look at their forward line, and to a man, they're smaller than their opposition player, other than Peter Dean on Jason McCartney.
Yes, they are indeed a shorter side. Smart grabs that from the throw-in, and all players going nowhere, so there'll be a bounce. 55 metres from the Carlton goals. 91 games now to Nigel Smart, one of the young veterans of the Crows. Tapped over brilliantly. McConnell's first to read it and goes to ground when he really probably didn't need to. But the umpire's actually calling back a free. And it's actually going to a Carlton player, I believe. I actually didn't see that. Matt Clappe. So Clappe will kick from just outside 50. Goes back into the centre. And Brown cleverly grabs that one hand. Kicks to Ratton. Ratton can go, but goes short and sets up Rice. Terrific skills then from the Blues as they work that ball around. And now Dean Rice is within kicking range, and he'll kick from 45 metres, unlike Clappe, who would have had to kick from probably 51 or 52.
They look better on the forward line than they had on the back line.
Yes. No, Dean Rice, a lot of injury over his career. Not a long runner, kicks. The ball travels well. The crowd behind the goal's happy. Another goal to the Blues, their third.
Middle, and as McDermott was dashing off with the ball, he's got to give it up to his ruckman David Pittman, and McDermott wondering what about the advantage. He gets it back from Pittman anyway, and his kick was pretty blind. Overrun by Dean. McGuinness. Clappe applies the tackle, and the umpire comes in and will force the ball up about 60 metres out from goal. Carlton with the breeze, Adelaide with the breeze, but Carlton leading by a goal, 3-1 to 2-1. And the umpire forced to throw the ball up. Fair bit of rain in Melbourne this week. Some big packs. We might get a low-scoring, close game out of it. Camporelli, beautiful kick. Bradley, forward of centre wing. Kick by Craig Bradley. Perfect for Pearce or Kernahan. Pearce marks. Kernahan runs into the space. Spalding's there as well. Kernahan offers a second lead. Brad Pearce, can he make it? Protection from the stand. His left footer is away to the left. And through for a behind, just as Matt Clappe crashes into the behind post. Just missed the scoring zone, and it's gone out of bounds on the full.
Sean Tasker just coming onto the ground, replacing Brett Chalmers. But you mentioned the wind and the stand, Drew. It's interesting that once you get the ball inside the 50-metre arc here at Optus Oval, you do really get a hell of a lot of protection, and there's no real problem with kicking the ball distances.
So the kick from Fisker really sets up McDermott. Good enough to come back. Plays for the free kick, can't get it. The Camporelli just caught as he kicks it, and the ball wobbles over the line. Yes, Fisker and kicker. It's a good one, Jared, isn't it?
It's a good combination.
I can see it's a hard thing, that isn't it? Pinpoint a bloke who's standing still. I think it's the hardest thing in footy to do. Players cover so much ground these a lot quicker. Boundary throw in. All the Littleys go up. Falls to Spalding. Handballs out to Camporelli. Plays tunnel ball back through his legs. And the umpire has absolutely called that a throw. But I've seen that happen many times. And if the ball comes off the ground, I mean, you still can do that with a hit. Never mind. Off to Bickley. Bickley a bounce through the goal square. It's a great switch if this works, because it's found Pittman. And Pittman held up by Koutafidis. He'll give it off to McGuinness. Onto his trusty left foot. Goes in short to McCartney, and a few kicks just haven't quite found McCartney. It'd have been a bit high, a bit low. Goes to ground and knocks it forward. Dean has the better recovery and sets up Koutafidis. He falls over as well. McKinnon grabs hold of it. Handball's out. Scrappy piece of play. Ratton to Pearce, and Pearce gives away the free kick as he catapults over McDermott. McDermott doesn't quite know what to do. He wants his teammates to get out the way. Now gives it off to Smart, and Smart's committed to go very, very wide. Really puts Silvani in the box seat. The kicking to Rashudo hasn't been good. Well, and once again, Silvani's kept that ball in on the boundary line. amazingly, but a free kick has gone back to him. But it's 3 or 4 times now where the Carlton side has actually chanced their arm along the boundary line.
Just interesting there with McDermott with the ball. He had a couple of players trying to pinch a handball that was basically superfluous, but perhaps it's a team plan just to get the side running again, just to overuse the ball and just get everybody into the play, getting a touch. And Tony McGuinness was one there that was trying to receive the ball, but he would have been forced onto his non-preferred right foot, and I'm sure that's why McDermott ignored it.
Terrible kick by Silvani, out of bounds, covered only about 25 metres. Madden to Williams, back to Madden. Oh, it's a bit of a throw, surely. Got away with it. Williams grabbed when he didn't have it, and will take a free kick, Greg Williams. Camporelli has had 6 possessions already. The kick by Williams short of half forward. Comes to the back, Rice, and he's tackled when he didn't have it, and he'll take the free kick. Dean Rice, straight up the ground at Pearce. Oh, Pearce has got it again. Beating McKinnon to it. And Pearce has already kicked a goal from a mark. Should get his second.
Well, he's growing in stature with every game he plays for the Blues, just getting more and more confident. His last 5 weeks have really been outstanding. It's a tough spot to play the forward pocket. He's doing it well.
Right in front, 35 metres out. I think he's hooked it with the left for a behind. Should have goaled there.
One of the keys, of course, Malcolm, is you only get half a dozen opportunities. You've got to convert.
Yes, that's right. You know, 3 kicks for 3 goals, and everyone says you play well. 3 kicks for 3 points, and you're a very average player.
Well, he's had 3 for a goal, a behind, and 1 out of bounds.
Once again, chances his arm to Connell. Has players everywhere. Oops, goes back the wrong way to McKinnon. Has to come back onto his left foot. Has enough pace to run away. Now looks down the centre of the ground, and Hart was almost by himself. Smart from behind. Kudafudis with an early jump. Ball falls to McLeod. Terrific stuff. Smart. Go for goals. Has 55-metre kick. What a great kick. 3rd goal of the Crows.
Who dodges trouble, gets it out of the centre circle, and on the chest of Clappe. And Matt Clappe right in front, 35 metres out. Well, he had a great start to the season. He kicked 8 goals in his first 2 games. And how quickly did that come out of the centre?
Yeah, those centre bounce clearances are so vital, and when you've got Madden getting it onto a talented player like Bradley, it makes it easy.
Clappe for his second, gets it. Blues by 7 points. And Craig Bradley did a little soft shoe shuffle there in the middle.
Jared, I'd just like to ask you a question on that. Where Smart was actually standing, or the defender was standing on Clappe, was really on the wrong side, wasn't he? I mean,
Smart wasn't on Clappe. He was waiting back as Spalding came through. But it was interesting that Clappe, once again, that's 2 goals in the first quarter, just lurking into that hole
in the middle. Yeah. The defensive go is obviously to stand on that side, isn't it?
Sure.
So, never mind. Back in the centre, David Pittman on screen. Madden just gets his hand beautifully to Brown, and then follows up with a bit of energy from the big fella to Smart. Hooks the ball around his body. Out wide, racing into McLeod, gives off to Connell. Connell has McCartney short, and that's where the ball ends up. And McCartney 35 metres out. And really for the Crows just to keep this constant pressure up on Carlton now, to keep in touch and give them some confidence going into this first break, as with just over 3 minutes to go of this first quarter. But Jason McCartney from Collingwood kicks, and I think not a lot of noise at the back, but it's hit the post.
A lot of noise now.
Yeah, a lot of noise now. And unfortunately for the Crows side, just a behind. So 4-2, plays 3-2, and Carlton lead by 6 points.
Well, at the same stage in the last 2 weeks, the Crows have been about 8 goals behind. So they're having a bit of a go today and trail by just 1 kick. McGuinness has got it at right half forward. Around on the left boot. 53 metres out, open goal square, but it didn't quite have the carry. And Ange Christou takes the mark. 26-20, Carlton in front. Christou short to Ratton. Back to Christou. Certainly playing with confidence. It's looked ill-founded a couple of times. Oh, Anderson almost. Gets it away from Camporelli. Socket off the ground by Pittman. It'll be a ball up just inside the 50. McLeod, who came from Darwin to Port Adelaide, played in a premiership side last year with Port, and Jason McCartney being led away by teammates out of trouble.
Thinking of the use of the umpires, number 1 here is the central umpire at the present time. He's right down in the forward line. Number 8 umpire is in the goal square, so there's 150 yards of space in the middle that will be unumpired or unadjudicated, if you like. I just think that's the problem with the 3 umpire system now. They just don't appear to be getting their positioning right.
Well, to err on the side of being unumpired would be good, because most games I've seen this year have been over-umpired.
Yes, on the 50-metre line. Mackay cleverly over the back. Gives it to Camporelli, who's been very busy in this quarter, and takes the ball over bounds. And for a boundary throw-in, some 65 metres around from the Crows' goal. Odds today, 14-1 on Carlton. How'd you like to put a bit of hard-earned that on, Drew?
You'd be a bit nervous if we've had the lazy 14,000 to win one.
7-1, the Crows. I don't think there's that much in it, to be honest. Connell swings around on his left foot, punched down by Christou to a nest of post players. Bickley can size this up, gets through. Now Jarman, it's clever skills, Andrew Jarman, shoots and has kicked the goal, I think. Marvellous kick, Andrew Jarman. 4th goal.
Scores level here with under a minute and a half to quarter time. Koudafidi's the hand pass out. And the kick by McKay to the 50. Kernahan's been out of the play so far. The punch comes to Rice. Little kick by Rice. Oh, he was looking for Pearce. It was clever, but chopped off by McKinnon. Through Connell it goes. And Jamison. Pittman back to Jamison, who kept going. Jamison's kick to full forward. Sexton for Carlton. Koudafidi's near the boundary line. And it's gone out on the 50. 4 goals, 2 apiece. So they have broken some sort of a drought here, the Adelaide Crows, with 4 goals in the opening quarter.
It may not be the only drought they broke today. The way they're playing, the way Carlton just appear to be playing, well, I guess champagne footy sums it up. That's what the coaches say, playing like millionaires. They're not just having the same desperation and percentage play that they've performed with for most of the year.
Was the champagne corked about Thursday? Has it gone a bit flat, Jerry?
Well done.
Peter Dean out of the air from the boundary throw-in. Kicks wide. Tyson Edwards in front. Rice recovers. Can't get hold of it. Edwards' back was good. Smart just took his eye off it. Now has to run. Caught. Unloads to Hart. Hart under pressure. Now Carlton lift the rating just as this quarter ends. And a ball up. True centre wing. Scores a level and fair indication of the game. Just 11 seconds to go of this first quarter. Pittman and Madden trying to find that elusive piece of turf. Jarman clever out the air. Play on now, calls the umpire. Last seconds, and that's quarter time here at Optus Oval. Carlton 4-2, and the Crows, would you believe, 4-2 in what has been a very good quarter, Gerard Hurley.
Particularly for the Adelaide side. I think that the 2 coaches will, their body language at the quarter time huddles will reflect the positions of the 2 sides. I'm sure David Parker won't be all that pleased, but all positives for Robert Shaw, who would be pretty proud of the way his boys have played here this afternoon in the first quarter. They've won their fair share of football. They're playing a good brand of football coming down the short Optus Oval down the middle of the ground. It's good to see Nigel Smart giving them plenty of run. They're not getting dominated out of the centre bounces as has been the problem in the last couple of weeks. And I think the signs blighty are pretty good for the Crows.
Yes, it is. There's been a fair bit of spirit out there, Drew, and as you've called it, they've been disastrous the last 2 weeks, but you'd have to be impressed with that first quarter.
Yes. Great effort by the Crows, and it must be heartening there for Robert Shaw, who's been under siege for a fortnight. 4 goals, 2 apiece.
It's Collingwood's turn to fly to Brisbane, and Sandy Roberts will also be on the plane for AFL Sunday.
On the dial now.
Well, it's a lot better effort, Drew. Some worrying signs are also, I think the Crows are really having a hard crack today, and as indicated by the scoreboard, and I think Carlton players are in a bit of a letdown today, but they'll get better. The worrying signs, of course, is the 3 of the Crows' goals, of course, have come from a ruckman with a 50-metre penalty, a centre-half back and a centre-man, which means their forwards are not doing a lot at all, whereas I feel McKinnon, Edwards and Visca have to tighten up on Pearce, Rice and Clappines, respectively, to really stay in this football match, because the Crows have to just keep battling, but I expect the Carlton players to get better.
Thank you, Neil Curley, who wears his South Australian heart on his sleeve, and why not?
And whilst he said it was a worrying sign that the forwards weren't doing the work, it's also a positive that the defenders are finally running again for the Crows.
There's David Pittman, who kicked his goal from a 50-metre penalty in the first quarter. Justin Madden, the Blues with the breeze in this second term.
Yes, interesting first quarter here at Optus Oval. As we restart the second quarter, all tied up. Madden, Pittman. Bounce favours Madden. Handballs awkwardly off on his left hand. Picked up by Tasker, swings around on his left foot, and young Andrew McLeod finds the ball on his chest. Looking at options, kicks out to the Shudo, and a terrific diving mark. Shades of the first quarter with McLeod getting the first kick out the centre, and now setting up his teammate Mark Rashudo, playing full forward in place of Tony Modra. And this young fella has at times looked like being anything, and hard spot to play full forward, Gerard, particularly on this ground.
Yes, it's the ball can continually go over your head. First kick for the afternoon, Mark Rashudo needs a goal.
Kicks, and I believe has kicked truly. Yes, the Crows' 5th goal, first to Mark Rashudo.
There's Pittman. He knocks it in the direction of Ratton, who soccers off the ground. Up to half forward, Spalding a good pickup. Rice going past him. 65 metres, hooks it back. Madden's there. Spoor came from behind, or McKinnon quick out of defence. McDermott, short pass. It clears the pack, it's all Adelaide. McCartney to McGuinness. Short pass, and it's on again for Rashudo, who hasn't got the height but had the pace off the mark and read the play on Silvani, and he's kicking for his second goal in a minute.
And it's building once again. The running play of the Crows that was so dominant in the last couple of seasons, and even earlier this year, it's just starting to show some signs of returning.
We've talked about the protection of the Heatley stand. Wind no effect there, and he's kicked his second, Rashudo.
In this second quarter, the ball's starting to fall for him now. Edwards' kick is smothered well by Williams. Sets up Camporelli. Camporelli to Williams, and a clever one-handed mark in his left hand. Kicks, goes in long. All Crows here. McKinnon underneath it. He takes a well-judged mark. They really are taking some chances, the Crows. To McConnell, out wide to McDermott, and McDermott back onto it. Loses balance, but takes a well-controlled mark. Half-back flank. Crows in defence. As Carlton tried him out. This little charge that the Crows are making at them. Bickley clear. Look at him search for the handball. They really do want to play team today. McCartney makes a good contest with 2 Carlton players. Mackay slaps it forward. Camporelli's pushed off the ball. So's Anderson. Covers back to dive, and the ball is held in just in front of the interchange bench here at Optus Oval. Almost centre wing. Crows slightly into attack.
Yeah, and I think it's important that the Crows get a couple more goals on the board, because they've got Carlton down at the moment, but one thing is certain is they'll come back firing.
Anderson gives it off again. Bickley went to give it, but then decided to kick it. Ball falls to Tasker. Oh, the door's open. Chips it, misses hard. Silvani reads it pretty well, runs underneath it. Backed up there by Koutafidis to Dean. Back to Silvani in space. Can go for a bounce if he wishes, has to throw the ball in very hard to the turf, and then chips beautifully to Rice, who takes it well in front of his eyes. Now Dean Rice in the Spalding direction, Hart with him. Spalding almost back on it, Hart recovers well. To Lee, beautifully pinched by Brown. To Ratton, great turnover. Spalding long and true. 5th goal to Carlton. First goal to Earl Spalding, and they close the margin to 6 points.
Yeah, what makes Carlton a good side is that they can lift as a team and as individuals. And sometimes when you're over handballing, you do pay the price. That was one occasion. Scott Lee intercepted, well, his handball was intercepted by Brown. It resulted in a goal.
Back in the middle with 6 points, the margin, Adelaide in front. Brown gets it from Madden's hit out, but the Crows moving forward again. Bickley has it. Is left-footed to centre half forward. McLeod doubles back. Well played, Rashudo. Hand pass back to Lee, and Lee is goal. Prosciutto, kickless in the first quarter, has had a hand in 3 quick ones. And
Looking on, biting nails. He doesn't need to bite them at the moment because they're playing very well. I think they're just taking some chances. Ball works clear out of the middle to Brown. Chips it short, and a wonderful kick. An excellent kick. Just finds Matt Clapper. Great presence in from Fraser Brown. And this goal-for-goal contest at Optus Oval, it really has got the crowd alive, and it's not all one way, Gerard, either.
No, Carlton have responded. There's no doubt about that. But you just get the feeling that Carlton are a little bit flat. And if they continue on like this, they're going to give the Crows a big chance.
Matt Clapper kicks. Looks close. I think he's kicked it. It's his third.
Prime Local News, the region's #1 television news service. The live television news service is proudly brought to you by your local Southwest Olin dealer. Prime Local News, weeknights live at 6.
Pittman just creamed by Madden. It comes to McKay. He's kicked to full forward. Pearce traps it well. Spalding a turn. Loses it in the tackle. McKinnon, who had a tough time of it in the first quarter, but is coming better now. Ball held to him. Umpire will ball it up. 44-38. Crows in front. Crows haven't looked like this for a few weeks. Comes to McGuinness. In the middle of the ground, Nigel Smart. Prosciutto. Well done by Silvani. It comes to Dean. Camporelli dragged off it by Anderson. Crowd want a free kick. Now he's holding the ball. Well, the Carlton fans aren't happy with that. Greg Anderson, who went back to Port Adelaide earlier in the season after being dropped. He goes long. Prosciutto gets rid of Silvani and takes a terrific mark. And Stephen Silvani, a state representative, was remonstrating so hard with umpire David Howlett he lost his mouthguard. Well, Prosciutto has gone from a firelighter that wouldn't catch to a runaway bushfire.
He says like a farmer. Spending too much time on the paddocks, I think, Drew.
He's pretty wide out, but only 35 metres from goal. Across the face. And actually off Madden, through for a behind.
Here's the free kick. Just the replay of that. Wasn't a hell of a lot in it, but no doubt Camporelli was trying to maintain possession, and he got pinged.
So the Carlton side goes in the huddle, and a wonderful kick sets up Sexton on his left foot, and an equally good kick sets up Clapper. Fantastic play from the Blues to get it out of defence. Kicks it on. Clapper from a standing start, and that is out of bounds on the full. So all that good work up the ground now let down with just that average kick, and Martin McKinnon will kick the ball back in. Swings around on his left foot. Kicks back Smart. Pack of 4. Big pack of players. Read beautifully by Visca. Gives off to Jamison. Tripped. Not seen by the umpire. To Smart. In the direction of McCartney. Well read there by Whitehead. Cloud caught. Christou back over the boundary line. And another throw in almost on the 50-metre line. This ball will come back in. And some pressure on both sides now. 13 goals early going in this second quarter. There has been goal for goal. Ball thrown back in. And Madden held on to and will take the free kick. Gives off to Fraser Brown. Brown on his left foot. Chips it short to Spalding, and Spalding marks easily on his chest. Twings around. Kicks almost to centre forward. Kernahan's out from goals. Punched by Jamison. Jarman can't control it. Rice was good, so was Jarman. Tripp not seen by the umpire, standing on the other side of the pack. Ends up with Connell. Connell swings the ball back. Madden, McGuinness, Madden easy.
That's the problem when he just blays away. Connell's kicked up to the tallest bloke on the ground up against Tony McGuinness.
Madden finds Whitehead. Perfect disposal to Koutafidis.
Interesting that battle there, Drew. Koutafidis 3 possessions now and Hart only 2. And 0-0 draw.
Pearce on the lead was crunched to the ground. The Crows going in really hard. They're bumping, they're tackling. Down goes Connell. He's holding it just outside the 50.
Brad Pearce likes his in it. Look like he's in all sorts of trouble. Calling for the stretcher. 2 hands in the air.
Short pass Ratton. McDermott and Williams fight for it. It comes to Bickley. Bickley well shepherded. It was going to be a free kick up the ground, I believe, and so it's...
I just have to stop the play now, Drew, while the stretcher's on the ground.
Brad Pearce led down the ground from full forward, and there were 3 Crows coming from all directions. Whack!
Glenn Robertson and I nearly got into a blue last night talking about charges that hit around the head area. Whilst there was the intent was obviously not to knock him out, you just got to question whether that's a legitimate piece of play. Blighty, what's your thoughts?
Yes, it was just appeared to be a bit high. I just remember Brad Pearce wasn't at the game, but doing this against Geelong and coming back on the ground and actually kicking a couple of very important goals late. So hopefully his resilience is good in this instance. He probably just has got him a little bit high.
Yeah,
very hard to see from that. But let's hope the young fella's okay. But yes, I just remember that game. They came back on and actually lied them up in a game that they only won by 3 points.
Let's just have a look from over the top. I guess the question is whether one fellow was going for the ball or not. And obviously on that occasion there wasn't. You can't take the hip and shoulder out of football. It's unfortunate when somebody goes down as heavily as that.
I think you've got to have a balanced position there too, that the guy jumped in the air, and I think that's always the worry in those circumstances. I think if both players go at the footy and it's met body-body, that's fine. But I mean, Pearce was in a vulnerable position, but the other Crows player did actually jump in the air, which I think causes some damage.
Yeah, well, they were lining him up, and finally it was Mark Visca who got him, and Brad Pearce goes off the ground on a stretcher. A former Brisbane Bears player replaced by another one in Tony Lynn. And we'll have forgotten what happened leading up to it, but it was going to be a free kick up the ground. And even though Whitehead marked the ball, it's McGuinness's free kick just behind centre wing.
And so we're just about set to go again. Tony McGuinness, captain of the Crows, first season. Had that worrisome knee injury for 6 or 7 weeks. But now looks as though he's starting to run back into some form, and he plays on off the mark. The Crows are doing it consistently. Big pack of players, and Earl Spalding almost claimed the mark. Williams, quick kick out wide. Whitehead first there. Connell hotly pressing, and the ball is out of bounds. Almost centre wing. Carlton slightly in attack. So one of the youngsters from Wodonga really is finding a niche for himself across this half-back line, and as a follow with going with McGuinness today. Madden pushes it. Williams really just ran the gauntlet then, pushed his body through. McDermott dives on it, and there'll be another ball up, almost the same spot.
What's the theory then? You either get lucky and the ball stays in front of you and you clear the pack with the ball out there?
Yeah, it looks fantastic when it works.
He does it so often, though. He just reads it better than most.
Great handball to Bradley. Bradley has to give it quickly. Under pressure is Brown. Sets up Spalding. Has to spin back and quick kickly. The ball actually goes towards goal. Don't tell me. I think that's a goal. Earl Spalding, what a free kick. No, it's hit the post. Actually, it's interesting, Jared, with those canvases around the now. I mean, it's taken about 6 inches off the old point play or the goal post.
Do you think it should have been worth 3 points?
I saw what.
Let's have a look at this one. It just went everywhere. Earl would have been talking to it at this stage, just a little bit.
Yeah, just perhaps grazed it.
Tell you what, the umpire's a long way away to make that decision.
Back in the centre from that kick out, a wonderful mark by Koutafidis. Mackay from edge of the square goes long. Kernahan back, no point. So Carlton with the last 2 points move up to 6-5. 6-4 in fact, and Adelaide 7-3, 5-point margin.
Short kick into McKinnon. And his kick towards the centre of the ground. All Adelaide here. Koutafidis up very high to spoil, but it comes to Anderson. Tasker taps the ball out for Adelaide. Gee, they're running in numbers. Well done by Jarman. Brilliant football. It comes to Pittman. Short pass Prosciutto nudged out by Silvani. It gets to the back of the pack. A tough game of football here. McKay there. McLeod paddles. The hand pass Prosciutto in. And a chance here for Tasker, who has kicked it.
There's a new power at Holden. A brilliant new V6 engine. The Ecotec V6. Delivering more power using less fuel.
Silvani in front, slips. McLeod caught by Christou, recovers, and players very, very desperate in that situation. Both defenders and forwards right on the job in that situation. Adelaide by 11 points, just under 10 minutes in this second quarter. Whitehead sets up Mackay, goes long, and a terrific mark, well judged mark by Mark Visca. Once again the handball, over to McKinnon. McKinnon's forced to kick up and under, and a terrific mark by Peter Dean as he uses his body to put McCartney out of business.
He had to mark it, he wasn't going to get a free kick.
So Peter Dean, wonderful veteran in his 200th game. Saw an interview with him during the week and he was pretty happy to be a 200-game player at Carlton, and why not? Koutafidis, almost. That is a terrific jump, almost from a standing start to Bradley. Bradley usually goes in the Kernahan direction. That's where it's gone. Jamison's done a fair job. Off the ground, Clappe. Goal. And there is a goal to Matt Clappe, their 7th.
And he's kicked 4.
There's 2 in each quarter, and the margin back to 5 points.
Yeah, interesting seeing the two Carlton players almost competing with each other, trying to kick that goal. She's a pretty competitive game out at Optus Oval now, with both sides really going hammer and tong. And I'm sure Carlton realise now the Crows are a different combination to the last couple of weeks.
Give that hit out to Madden slightly. Dean runs hard at the ball. Koutafidis for Carlton. Whitehead. Rice at full stretch. Back to McKay. Up to Kernahan, who's had just 1 touch so far. Beaten by Jamison, and the ball taken out of bounds. Brad Pearce carried off on a stretcher. Neil Curley.
Yes, report there, Drew, concussed, knocked to the head. Doubt if he'll take any further part in the game.
No, that's bad news. 51 to 46, Adelaide by 5 points. Brown goes over his shoulder. Bradley, 35 metres from goal. Hooked it. Margin back to 4 points.
There's just under 9 minutes now to go in the second quarter. 15 goals. It has been lively from one end of the ground to the other. School's not bad considering the ground is a bit shifting underfoot. And we have now got a call from the umpire. Peter Carey, most experienced, believes that Rod Jamison has gone over the line. And he's calling it like a cricket umpire. Is he saying there on the line? He
Let's go to the third umpire.
Yeah, let's go to the third umpire.
We'll do it later.
He throws it up. Everyone runs, including Williams. Covers it. Pack of players. Almost thrown out rugby union style to the backs, and another bounce.
Greg Williams not happy. He reckons he got a kick on the hand. So a lot of players getting a bit niggly about umpiring.
Yes, Dean Rice has to sit and wait for it. Ratton, kick smothered. Bickley around his body. From behind, McGuinness nearly outmarked Whitehead, then does it brilliantly towards the Brownie line. Sets up McKinnon. McKinnon on his right foot, not as penetrating in his left. And Mackay drops probably what he should have taken. Dean helps him and covers up. Ducks his head, so that's not a free kick. And that is a good call from the umpire. The Carlton fans don't like it, but I agree with that rule. Let's not have players ducking their head. And Madden, McCartney, McGuinness. That's a bit of pace from McGuinness there. We haven't seen that for a few weeks since his injury. It ends up with McGuinness again on his right foot and the ball out of bounds. Half forward flank for the Crows. Yes, we'll just have a look at this again. It's a pretty good call, actually. He probably is over the line.
Red light.
He's out.
That happens a lot, though.
Yes, it was a good call. McCartney trying to work off the big fella Madden. Williams with a short kick. Bickley just attacks it and then throws the ball onto his foot. Sexton can't handle it. Prosciutto lined up Christou from a long, long way. the free. The Blues try and work it out with handball. It ends with Hart. There's got to be players everywhere, and there is. Sitting back waiting, their turn to jump at Rashudo. Fair enough too, says the Carlton crowd. And the Blues rush it through for a point.
Well, there's a borderline attack on the man on the footy there from Rashudo, but this would all be encouraging Robert Shaw to see the aggression of Visca, who I think's a pretty steely player, and also Rashudo. It's going to result in some opportunities that'll create some goals.
Oh, revenge came very quickly then. Rashudo got his comeuppance. In between wing and half forward. Crows free kick. To be taken by Marty McKinnon. The ball was thrown back pretty high at him. Born in Bairnsdale, McKinnon. Played with Young in his younger days. Nick Pesh on the ground for the Crows. Too far out to score. A lead by Rashudo, honoured. Oh, that's beautiful. Now, Silvani, even though he's pigeon-toed, knock-kneed and everything, isn't slow, and Rashudo has run off him this quarter.
Yeah, the full forward always has the advantage. He's the one that fires the starting gun.
At the moment, the Crows lead by 5 points. Rashudo for his third. Kicks through it well. A goal.
The back of the square, wants to give it off as they've tried to do all day, and sometimes it's going to work like that for Nigel Smart, and then other times it's amazing how you make your own luck, because it's found Pittman again to Rashudo on a long lead. Brilliant leading from Mark Rashudo, and if the Crows players keep this up, the pressure from Carlton is enormous. Kicks long, no one in the square. Peter Dean sits underneath it. Ben Hart does something special, hits it back to McCartney goal.
Well, Hart came from nowhere.
Magnificent play then.
Well, the Crows going on a fair dinkum goal spree here. They've kicked 6 in this quarter with 5 minutes to go. They're out of the middle again. Pittman, Bickley, Connell, the hand pass, slick, but Pesh has got it. Inside 50. Took a while. Anderson, he's got Camporelli. Tapped up by Mitchell to Brown. Spalding. Christou knocked it into the shins of Jarman. Jarman follows up. Chance for Connell on the 50. Oh, he's got McLeod inside. Well done by Connell to break the tackle. Here's Andrew McLeod, 30 metres out. Just gets across the face of goal. It's not, if it's missed, it hasn't missed by much. A goal! Well, they're irrepressible at the moment, Adelaide, leading 11-4 to 7-5.
It's a great game, isn't it, football? You can be belted 2 weeks in a row by 100 points, and all of a sudden something goes right, and you can kick 10 in a quarter.
Yeah, I just felt with the kicker, he wasn't all that confident himself, the young fella, was he? 7 goals to 3 this quarter too.
Well, certainly from that view, it didn't look like a goal, but the umpire's right underneath it. Great stuff from McLeod.
Amazing stuff from the Crows. Williams tries to burst through to try and stop this avalanche from the Crows to Ratton. Ratton kicks long. There's an open goal square. Tyson Edwards races back and reads the ball pretty well. He wants to play on too. This is a new enthusiastic Crows side. They're taking some chances. Hart to McDermott. Where's the run? He'll wait for it. There it is with Lee. Lee looks, kicks poorly, unfortunately, and falls to Ratton.
Carlton have got to start to get Kernahan into the game. They're just kicking it over his head, just not steadying enough and finding the leading Kernahan. With Pearce off, their whole forward structure's breaking down.
Oh, very good mark.
Except for this one.
Spalding.
You can't say Pearce off in daytime television.
Matt Clappe has kicked 4 goals, 2 in the first and 2 in this quarter. So really, Spalding's got 1. Brad Pearce is off the ground, as we mentioned, and Dean Rice, so he's a winger. So really, on the ground, there's only 2 people in the forward line have kicked goals.
Harrison on, replacing Big Harry Madden.
So from 30 metres out, Matt Clappe kicks and has kicked his 5th goal, much needed by Carlton, their 8th.
Well, Carlton haven't been beaten at Optus Oval for almost 2 years. And they have come back from some pretty testy situations. I just get the feeling, obviously, that this is going to be another one of them. But hasn't Matthew Clappe had a pretty good effort? And, it's good to see Pearce on the bench.
Back in the middle. Adelaide go forward again, but blocked by Sexton. He missed with his hand pass. The Crows have got a chance of ripping it out, but Brown's over the ball. Under 3 minutes to half-time. And what an onslaught it's been by the Adelaide Crows.
McKinnon in a bit of trouble for the Crows.
There's Marty McKinnon. Tall and quick, and he's used it in this quarter. Koutafidis. Rice. Well, it sits well for Tasker. He's kicked a half forward. Anderson and McCartney, 2-1 Adelaide. Anderson has it. He needs to paddle to McCartney, but he couldn't get it to him. And Dean did superbly. And look at the pats on the back for the 200-game veteran, Peter Dean. And he ain't getting up. Players love to be the last up holding the ball. Anderson wants this ball, and look at this. The umpire's made his decision a week ago. Down on the boundary, Neil Curley.
Yes, that's a class. I think Pearson's a recovery man. He's looking quite sound on the bench here, and I'd say they may be able to use him later on in the afternoon.
Well, he's done it once this year, and I'm tipping he'll be back.
Dr. Curley.
Kick from Pittman into the square. Big fly from behind by Silvani. Quick kick away by Peter Dean. Ben Hart, awkward pick up here. Lee comes in to support. It's 2-on-2. Great little contest from the four of them, and they all go down in a big heap. Terrific stuff. Great contest here at Optus Oval.
Yeah, in the last 2 weeks, Adelaide has kicked 8 goals against Essendon and 7 goals against Collingwood. And already today there are 11 goals, and it's not half-time. They've kicked 7 in this quarter.
Yes, they really are playing a much more attacking brand of football. And look better for it. Whitehead with a quick hand out of that pack. Mackay to Rice. Mitchell on a lead. Great kick, Dean Rice. And Barry Mitchell just came on the ground a few minutes ago. We'll also call that minutes. And so the wily veteran from Swans. Played a number of games with him, Jared?
Yeah, about 100.
Yeah. Kicks. And has unfortunately hoiked that across to the left. So he'll be disappointed with that.
Just rushed it a little bit. Go back and prepare too well.
As Carlton move on to 8-6, Adelaide 11-4.
You won't be unhappy with this, Jared. He hasn't looked the same player since you retired.
Oh, thanks, mate. There's a ball.
Where's the fiver? Oh, Pesh, can he get there? I reckon the holding turf might have helped. It's Edwards. Kick by Edwards to centre wing. Well done, Camporelli, to work in front of Anderson, but he couldn't quite take the mark. Down goes Brown. Free kick to Fraser Brown. Last 30 seconds of the first half, 70-54. Adelaide in front. Kick by Brown. Big pack. Rice is there. Pushed in the back. And looks a little bit like a rice paddy, this ground, so Dean Rice should feel at home. A high ball. Kernahan sits and waits. He's had one kick only. Bradley to Williams, 40 metres from goal. He shrugs the Jarman tackle. Kick by Bradley is beautifully done. And Harrison in his first game might kick a goal on the siren with his first kick.
This is probably what you would have dreamed about on your first game, wasn't it? Coming on just before half-time and kicking a very important goal.
Yeah, receiving one from Greg Williams, who should never have got his kick. He broke a pretty ordinary tackle. And I just noticed Chris McDermott was pretty unhappy.
Left-footed.
Ben Harrison from Devonport in Tasmania, a 20-year-old. Cap it off. He's hooked it, unfortunately, a behind. So it's a 15-point lead at half-time to the Adelaide Crows.
And it was all positive for the Crows. There's their 2 most experienced players, along with McGuinness on the park, and they had a big part to play in their resurgence, but it was just terrific football from them. Under the pump, at home in particular, they've just come out here and taken up the challenge. They've obviously elected to take risks at all times. And there's Chris McDermott leading his charges off, and they'll just go in and rest, regroup, know that the challenge is only halfway complete, but they'd have to be pretty happy with a 15-point lead at Optus Oval to this point.
Yes, they'll remember a big lead in a preliminary final against Adelaide. They led by 7 goals and lost the game. So this isn't one yet. It's 11-4 to 8-7.
Bruce McAvaney talks to athletic superstar Michael Johnson. Live from Dallas, Sunday morning on Sports.
Dad's football career right now. By the time Darren's new contract expires in 1999, well, little Tracy will be cheering with the best of them.
And inside the pass for Tracy. He gets his second try. That is sensational.
Nice of Darren to name his kid after you.
Sing along on their toes, coming back for the start of the second half and leading Carlton, the competition leaders, by 15 points. Down on the boundary line, Neil Curley.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. It's certainly, from the Crows' point of view, and particularly those people back in Adelaide that are watching and praying, it's a much better effort there. It's amazing what, if you have 18 guys on the ground that are prepared to have a real crack at the footy, when it's their responsibility, things do start to happen. And that's the case here today with every Crows player that's on the ground really accepting the responsibility that goes with pulling on a football jumper, attacking the ball hard. And once we're in possession today, we are trying to create with some movement, particularly coming forward out of defence, the forward handball, the attacking kick going to a player, and the running movement on the side. And we're hitting the goal square with where Rashudo, of course, is really offering himself with strong leading, and he's giving Silvani a lot of trouble. And that was a great quarter of footy.
You are unbelievable. You haven't called him "we" for the last 2 weeks, and now you've jumped back on.
I sit on it. I love that bandwagon. But from the South Australian point of view, it's absolutely critical and crucial that we do start to show some football character over here, and that's the case today. But of course, it's only half over, and there's another half a footy to go, and we have been in this situation before and failed to go on with it. Now, you can rest assured that the Carlton players under Parkin at half-time down in the dungeon there will really have something stuck into them, and I would expect them to come out and really have a crack at this, and it's up to see if the Crows players can absorb that and still keep playing some good footy.
In particular, Curls, Carlton have got Kernahan with only 1 kick, so you'd expect that he would finish with, say, 3 to 4 goals.
Exactly.
And they're going to have to, I guess, counter that with somebody in their own forward line grabbing a bag full of goals. And any latest on Brad Pearce, Curls?
Sorry?
Any latest on Brad Pearce?
No, I'll get an update on him. He's jogging.
Still in the dressing gown.
I'll check him out a bit later on for you.
Thanks, Bob.
But I'm looking forward to this second half of footy.
Oh, so are we. This should be something special, to use a Malcolm Blightism.
See, Dean Rice, who was perhaps one of Carlton's best players in the forward line the first half, is now on Andrew McLeod in defence. Steve Silvani has gone to full forward, along with Kernahan.
Back in the middle, fine and sunny conditions. Madden wins, down to Ratton. Hurriedly gets boot to ball. Oh, Anderson attacked it very, very hard, but Camporelli's there. Mitchell and Williams fighting hard for each other, against each other for the ball. McGuinness can't get boot to ball. McDermott caught in a great tackle by Madden, holding the ball, and listen to the crowd. Now, usually great tacklers are Tony Liberatore types. There is Harry Madden, 6'9", well done.
No, it's not a bad effort. 1 tackle in 301 games. It's a pretty good statistic.
So big Justin Madden squares the ball to the centre to Ratton. Will be caught from behind, but manages to get the kick in. Going back with one hand was Jarman. Now collects the ball and goes wide, and Tasker, falling to his knees, takes a chest mark. Centre wing, plays back into the middle of the ground. The long kick, gone 60 metres that kick. One-on-one, Rashudo in front, punched away by Christo. Recovered by Rashudo again. Ended up with a handball from McCartney. Swings around on his left foot, and I think has kicked the goal. First goal again to the Crows, as they've done in each of the quarters. 4 goals to Mark Rashudo.
Go for the ball, and the Crows have it. McDermott out of the middle. The pass wide. Rashudo on the bounce. 35 metres. Connell in the goal square. Tasker. Well, can they be stopped, the Crows? They lead by 21 points, and a goal by Tasker would give them the biggest break they've had for the day, and Carlton will really need to regroup. Tasker gets his second. There are some Adelaide.
It's umpire Craig Durham, who starts it after the Crows. 2 early goals in this quarter. Pittman with a fantastic knock. It's gone 30 metres. Camporelli fumbles. Has McLeod running at him and runs over the top of it. Then chips the ball in towards Tasker. Tasker almost in front. Shudo been terrific at getting the ball on the ground. Christou works very hard with him. Barry Mitchell tidies up on the boundary line. Goes along the line, trying to hit the boundary. Can't do it. Mark Bickley there. Really needs to set something up with this kick. Just kicks long. Punched away. Falls to Williams. Can't control it. Now can to Ratton. Ratton swings around and kicks out to the wing. Koutafidis and Hart. And Koutafidis takes a very good mark in front of Ben Hart. Chips the ball back into the centre and finds Craig Bradley.
Carlton have got to get more out of Koutafidis because with 2 kicks and 3 handballs in a half of football, one of their better players just gone missing.
Not a long kick there from Bradley, and it's very well marked by Martin McKinnon at centre half back. And McKinnon came off just before half time. Kicks wobbly on his right foot, his non-preferred side. Connell's caught, really let go of the footy then. Edwards out to Jarman. Jarman off the ground, through McGuinness's hands. Bradley to Brown. Jarman ties him up. And 4 or 5 players around that footy, and a bounce now, true centre wing. The early going in this 3rd quarter.
Jarman pleading for a free kick there. He did wrap Brown up pretty well.
Umpire Howlett having words with the ruckman. Eventually will throw the ball up in the air. Pittman did all right over Madden, but Carlton go forward. Here's Spalding. Left it behind. Edwards, the hand pass a bit high, but McDermott pulls it in. Kick by McDermott to centre half forward. McLeod with Rice. Rice almost nudged into the ball. Rashudo concedes some ground. Back to Pesh. 50 metres out. Great kick. Just offline.
So Adelaide doing all the attacking in this 2nd quarter. Bradley on the lead. Jarman with him. Sexton now in the direction of Mitchell as they break from the huddle at centre half back. McGuinness hot onto his back. McGuinness dispossesses him, then goes long into the goal square. Tasker from behind, but the ball's over the line. Another point to the Crows. 13-6, Carlton trailing 8-7.
2-0 in this quarter.
Kick out wide to Bradley this time, and Jarman can't keep up. Mark kicking with a slight breeze, the Crows. Great kick from Bradley. Finds Matt Clappe with 5 goals in the first half, been a very dangerous forward. Off to Rice, who has to stand and kick. Kick is smothered. Camporelli just fumbled under pressure. Mitchell onto it. This way, then that. Turns back. Scott Lee with not a second effort. Kernahan, can he take a mark? Hasn't taken one for the day. To Williams, from Spalding to Williams. Williams is caught. They just can't break this Crows defence at the moment. Fantastic tackle on Smart by Silvani. Off to McDermott. McKinnon onto his right foot out wide. And the ball falls free. Going to ground is Peter Dean. McCartney keeps his feet. The youngster actually taught him a thing or two there. It's Emerson running. McGuinness, short. Beautifully read by Christou. Cut out at centre half back.
Gee, I tell you what, at the moment, Adelaide are 14-1 on the way they're playing. Kick by Christou towards the outer wing. Koutafidis gets rid of Hart. Play on, says the umpire. Koutafidis kick. Silvani, it was touched on the way through to him. No mark. He's dragged down by Jarman. Bradley. Round the corner. A kick and hope. Madden. He's got it, Harry. Well, if there's a kick and hope, you would hope that the tallest man on the field is there, and he was on that occasion.
Big mark there from Harry Madden.
His 2nd mark for the day. He's laid 1 tackle, so it's an all-court game.
Well, Harry going to attempt to become the 5th Carlton goal kicker on the afternoon. Clappe, of course, has got 5, whereas the Adelaide Crows have had 8 different goal kickers. Rashudo, of course, their main one with 4. I'm sure every coach these days likes to have as many goal kickers as possible.
The margin is 29 points, but Madden's left foot sails through for a goal.
As the ball's knocked out from that centre bounce and falls just short of the 50-metre line. Carlton slightly into attack. Fraser Brown gets up with the footy. Rebounds. Indecisive knock. Bratton with a quick kick out the pack. Running at it hard. And it ends up with Clappe. Clappe kicks his fifth. 2 in a row to Carlton. Just what was required. 6 in fact.
Well, now the challenge is coming for the Crows. This is probably their make or break time. Carlton back on a roll. They know the game's in the balance. Umpires in the middle of the ground under some pressure from a couple of Crows players. And isn't that become a bit of a growing habit where the players give the umpires a nice bit of how do you do?
2 quick goals by the Blues, and they're right back in it. Madden down to Mitchell. Standing starter, high ball to the 50. Ball punched on by Clappe. Bradley well played. Williams, fantastic footy. Spalding, another goal. You won't see better than that. Well, Carlton got themselves 29 points down, and they've kicked 3 goals in 2 minutes.
He's an amazing player, Earl Spalding. I think sometimes he's a better shot at goal on his left foot than he is his right. But the good bit of play there, of course, was Craig Bradley's vision. A good tap from Harry, too, to get it down to Mitchell. And this, I would think, would be a pretty important boundary takeaway. Centre takeaway.
Tremendous pressure here from Carlton. Through is McCartney. Camporelli does pretty well in a tight situation. And will get the free kick. As the Crows players came at him, and Carlton are going to get this ball out of the centre. So player loose, it's Barry Mitchell just starting to pick up some kicks. Kiss it off to Christou. Christou kicks the ball in. Kernahan underneath. Silvani from behind. And the Blues are on fire. Stephen Silvani, just with 5 goals this year, has played mostly in defence. Kicks. And kicks another one. Oh, the Blues are right back in this.
Take a free kick just forward of the centre circle. 4 goals in 3 minutes. And all of a sudden, it's a kick the difference. 5 points the margin, Adelaide in front. The kick by Bradley. Kernahan hasn't had a touch all day. Well, 1 kick he had. Thumped out by Hart. It goes past Madden to Bradley. Standing start again. Back to full forward. At the back, Spalding. Williams. And Silvani played a role again. And we'll have a ball up 20 metres out, right in front. Carlton going to the Heatley stand in, so sometimes it wouldn't matter what the Breeze was doing here. Do they get a lift when they're going that way? 3rd quarter, the championship quarter. Adelaide were leading by 5 goals. Out of defence. Forward of centre wing is Koutafidis. Little kick round the corner. Madden again. One hand not enough. Whitehead back to McKay. He has to double back for it. And Koutafidis, but the ball is out of play. Throw in.
Had a very good game, Whitehead, last week, but just no excuse for those errant handballs. It's like a golfer teeing off into the trees, which is something I've got a lot of experience in.
Who hasn't? Boundary throw in. Madden just lays it off to the runners. Bradley gets ahead of the pack. Plays for the free kick, not coming. Scott Lee does a terrific tackle. Ball falls to Mitchell. Worried out of it by Anderson. Anderson kicks long on his left foot. Coming back is Dean, courageously, not gathered. Sexton's handball is smothered. Christou cups one high and will get the free kick. Umpire's called play on. Rice has got 3 or 4 metres, has to wheel back off to Sexton on his left foot. And Brett Ratton has an absolute paddock. Picks it up, has to shield his eyes from the sun, and then kicks long and straight to McDermott. So it really was a poor bit of play then from Brett Ratton. And the ball is knocked out of bounds by Michael Sexton.
Just as well it's out of bounds because Christou was out of the play. He's seeing stars after a knock to the nose.
Yeah, it's just grabbed a bit high, really. Might have even been a finger in the eye there. So centre wing. Madden takes front spot, grabs hold of it. Mitchell, Williams, two former Swans, try and combine together. Bradley. Pittman can't control it. Oh, terrific stuff there. Given off to Whitehead. Whitehead only needs to finish this. Kernahan does and takes his first mark for the day. Used his body well. Off to Koutafidis. Koutafidis hooks the ball round. Silvani has to wait. Almost marks it, and it is rushed through. Great give then from Barry Mitchell out on the wing. And really did set up that whole play.
4 points the margin.
Well, we've got a game now.
Yes, indeed.
Where has Adelaide's 5-goal lead gone? Well, the crowd had gone quiet about 6 minutes ago. Now they're finding some voice. Kick in by Jamison. 2 against 2 out here. The ball's up towards centre wing already. Spalding gets back. Whitehead. Little pass to Ratton, who's slipped his man. Ratton, 65 metres out. Thumps it into full forward. Kernahan's there. Koutafidis, no mark. Mitchell under the pack. And a ball up. And Camporelli, last to bring himself up.
Pesh just interchanging with Powell. Powell gone onto the half-forward line, being picked up by Mackay. Just see Krasiska getting his nostrils cleaned up.
And Christou as well.
Yeah, him too.
Right in front, 35 metres out. Carlton going, conceding some ground. Bradley on the spin. It bounces through the pack, but it's grabbed by Hart. Gee, it's all Adelaide. He's got nobody coming towards him. He'll nearly kick a goal here.
Somebody's got to run at him. He just can't keep running backwards.
Kick ball. He's given it straight to the man who was closest to him. It was the opposition.
Sexton grabs, accepts it gleefully, goes out wide to Camporelli. Anderson confronts him and does very well. Puts enormous pressure on Anderson, and that was terrific stuff. And Sexton with a great second effort then on Powell, forces the ball out of bounds. And we're now down to about 8 minutes to go in this quarter, and it really is now up for grabs. Ruckwork, Ratton, clever to Brown, to Mackay standing off the back of the pack, and Kernahan in front, marks again on his chest, plays on, Silvani leads, and a great chip kick to Silvani, who goes early, can't handle it off the chest. Enormous pressure, a number of Crows there. They really should make something of this. Kernahan comes in to help. Play underneath.
Good bit of work there, I thought, by McKinnon, because Silvani did have the front spot. Silvani jumped early, but McKinnon still managed to just get his hand around and spoil.
So Ruckwork, Kernahan goes. Williams tries to read it again, almost gathered it. And a pack of players. The ball goes nowhere. So 25, 30 players around that ball. It's a lot of players. Another bounce. Tapped by Spalding. Oh, ends up with Whitehead. Whitehead screws it around. And unfortunately for Carlton, misses to the right. But it brings them a real point closer. A 3-point game of footy.
And 7 minutes remaining, and David Parkin shielding his eyes from the sun. Pretty difficult from the coach's box to see what's going on.
I really don't know why they put those coaches' box that side for that reason.
Well, you could see Stephen Kernahan at centre half forward. He had to shield his eyes from the sun to even find Stephen Silvani. Camporelli goes for the boundary line, and it's out near centre wing. So the championship quarter has been a lot of fun. Adelaide kicked the first couple of goals. They led by 29 points, and back came the Blues. It's now 84-81 late in the term. McDermott tries to take clean possession. A good, honest hand pass then. A little bit like evidence at the tribunal. And the umpire throw it up in the air. Brown buffeted off the ball. Bigley gives the hand pass away to Koutafidis. He floats one over the top to Barry Mitchell. He gets in close. Fraser Brown right in front. Goals. The Blues in front.
goals after being 29-odd points down, and now hit the front by 3. Madden tries to go off the ground. The umpire calls for a bounce. So exciting stuff here at Optus Oval. 2 crows up. Usually mean the odds will be the Carlton player will get it, and that's exactly what happens. Fraser Brown kicks out wide. Running onto it is Scott Lee. Edwards keeps his head down. Cool, gives it to Jamison, to Lee. Buffeted off the ball. Clapay to Camporelli. Kicks. Silvani almost. Connell. Across to Jamison, has to double back, and then decides to run across for a touchdown. So a rush behind there for Carlton, and that puts them 4 points in front.
And there's a picture of Andrew Jarman briefly, and he's also dragged Craig Bradley out of the midfield. So it'll be interesting to see how Carlton respond to that one.
Carlton have scored the last 33 points to nothing after being 5 goals down, and this is the first time they've led since the 14-minute mark of the first quarter. McLeod into Bickley. Half forward. McCartney can't take the mark. Anderson did well, but couldn't get it going Adelaide's way, and they blocked it up, the Blues, and that was pretty important defence.
Anderson 4 kicks and 4 handballs, and Camporelli 7 and 8. And there's Andrew Jarman. If he can kick some goals, he'll have done his job. He'll have to obviously be concerned with Bradley's run out of defence.
Peter Dean worth a kick, the hit out to Williams. Now to Brown. Brown a little poke to Kernahan. And Stephen Kernahan had not taken a mark in the first half. 3 in this quarter. Going past his Spalding. A mark. He goes on and kicks the goal. That's 6 in a row for Carlton. Spalding's kicked 3, and at one stage I can remember saying I reckon Adelaide were 14-1 on, and since then they haven't had a sniff.
No, well, there's no doubt the bookmakers would be sighing with relief, but Neil Cooley spoke about some character when they come over to Melbourne. Well, now's the time. They know that they can produce here. They've just done it for 2.5 quarters. They've been missing for the last 10 minutes, but they can finish the quarter off with a couple of goals and be back in it.
So back in the centre. Madden with that characteristic left hand. Brilliant leader Williams with a tap. Williams sets up Camporelli with a handball. Has to stop. Kick towards the goal square. Silvani uses the body well. Plays on. And there's another one.
Guys are now 20-11.
Yes, Carlton have been ripping it out of the middle in this third quarter, but Bickley does it for Adelaide this time. Half volley for Rasciuto, difficult. McLeod a bit slick for Jarman, but he was very slick to Connell. Now they've run out of players. Christou there, and rushes it behind. That breaks a drought for the Crows. $45 points to nothing it had been until that rush behind.
Christou goes out wide. Dean set the screen up. Runs wide almost with a one hand. Recovers and the ball's underneath. McCartney locks it up. Just outside the 50. Carlton in this amazing transformation. 15-point leaders over the Crows. And kicking with a slight breeze in what will be the last quarter. Free kick is going to Pittman. No, it's McCartney. So McCartney infringed in the ruck work there. And Pittman actually coming off, and Chalmers on the interchange bench as we watch McCartney go for a torpedo. Almost hits it. It's a lovely kick really over the back, always going to drift. Beautifully read by Madden. Craig Bradley's had a very good third quarter. Chips it, doesn't waste it when he's not under pressure. Spalding kicks to Rice. Awkward bounce for that player. Chalmers just on the ground. Sets up Connell, pushes away. Now uses the hands to Lee. Lee has to unload with a torpedo punt. Back to Harry Madden again. And Andrew Jarman can't do nothing because there's no ladder available. Now kicks out wide to Christou. Christou bounces twice. He's really trying to draw a play or set something up here. Really must finish off when you do that, and he does that beautifully to Sexton. Sexton long, Kernahan, Jamison from behind. The ball goes at the back and favours Edwards. Has to stop him kicking. The kick is smothered and eventually taken over the line. 65 metres around from the Carlton goal. So this enormous swing around in the game. The Crows are really being asked the question now, and they really need a goal badly. Peter Dean's done this a couple of times, just burst through. Unfortunately for him that time, he's unloaded it and out of bounds on the full.
No, Rashido's been pretty successful at full forward, Mel, but would you consider maybe just throwing the balance around a little bit and throwing him onto the ball?
Be a good idea, actually, Gerard, just to crash through the middle there and try and get something going.
Well, Matt Connell, leading kick winner of the competition, but not many kicks today, just 7 after that free kick. Ratton done a job on him, and here's a free kick to the Blues, and Mitchell will take it in the centre of the ground. A lead by Silvani one way. Still moving Stephen Silvani. The kick short. Koutafidis takes the mark. Front edge of the centre square. He's 50 metres out. Kouta! Shepherded through for a goal.
Just thinking, when you're hot, aren't you? Things just start to go for you.
Yeah, I was just having thoughts along the same line when I saw Jamison about 3 minutes ago just bomb the ball from the half-back line and kicking it straight to Harry Madden. All of a sudden, the pressure's on the opposition side in the Crows, and they're making the mistakes that Carlton were in the second term. But that was just a great goal by Koutafidis, ably assisted, of course, by Silvani in the square.
An unbelievable 8 goals in probably the last 16 or 17 minutes of footy. The ball favours Anderson, kicks out wide. Running onto it is Mackay. Chip short to Clappe. The ball's a bit wide. Clappe intelligently goes and grabs an extra 10 metres for the Carlton side. So just inside 50. And Carlton in there attacking the zone again.
Well, the Blues beat them here last year by 60 points. They had 2 8-goal quarters that day. They might have 2 8-goal quarters today too. There's another quarter to come.
So throw in. Koutafidis underneath it. Connell gives it up. Clappe, quick kick forward through Kernahan's arms. Tap towards, and Tyson Edwards will run it into the post with a little kick off the ground. So another rush behind for Carlton. And Carlton now move on to 16-11. 13-7. Robert Shaw looking on in this last minute, this third quarter.
On the mark drop, it comes off to Madden, who's done some spectacular things, but this time he is off the side of the boot and out of bounds on the full. Free kick to be taken by McDermott.
Mentioned about 10 minutes ago, Drew, that Carlton had only 4 goal kickers and Adelaide had 8. Now it's 8 all.
A diving mark by Chalmers, yes, paid this time, and the crowd on the outer, who had a pretty good view of it, don't like the decision. I reckon it might have popped up for air, that one. Kick by Chalmers, short of half forward. McCartney in the middle of the pack, couldn't take the mark. Mitchell buried. A little kick across the ground by Sexton. Out of bounds will do them, but it sits on the holding turf. Rice dives over the line and scores a try for the All Blacks.
Oh, isn't that deliberate?
It's been a great comeback by Dean Rice after a couple of pretty ordinary knee injury. He's really starting to find his spot.
Madden beats Chalmers. Mitchell goes without the ball. And we'll have a ball up in the last 10 seconds of the third quarter. Listen to the roar the Carlton fans will give the Blues here.
Well, once again, the pressure comes down onto the Adelaide coach in Robert Shaw, and that would be worrying him if Andrew McLeod's got some sort of crack in his arm. We'll wait and see if he reappears after three-quarter time. But the pressure now goes back onto the Crows. Collectively, their coach and their players have just got to find that spark. They did actually lose their run in the from defence in that last half of the third quarter, and it was all Carlton. And you've got to say that the move of Silvani to full forward has been quite spectacular. There's David Pittman with that injured knee just being iced up, probably on the medial ligament there. And there he is again, of course, Stephen Silvani. He's just such a spectacular player, one of the best fullbacks in the business, and a player capable of kicking 10 goals at full forward, as he's done a couple of times in his career.
Look at Robert Shaw getting into the Crows. They've gone from a match-winning position, you would suggest, leading by 29 points. That was at the 8-minute mark of the third quarter. And at the last change, they trailed by 22. So what a turnaround. It's the Blues 16-11 to Adelaide 13-7.
The countdown is on to
Outdoors.
This is my investment.
This is my dream home.
Centennial Gardens, an exciting new lifestyle development bringing Victorian terrace living to Wagga Wagga.
For further information, contact GJ Fitzpatrick & Co. or Nationwide Realty McGillivray.
Well, late in that quarter, it was a 51-point turnaround, and Carlton finished with an 8-goal quarter to lead 16-11-107 to 13-7-85. For Carlton, Clappe has kicked 6 goals. Silvani has kicked 2. Spalding has kicked 3. For Adelaide, Rasciuto has 4. McLeod has kicked 2, and Tasker has also kicked 2 goals.
7 Sports is proud to present this match as part of the 1995 Coca-Cola AFL Premiership season.
Three-quarter time in the other 3 matches, and Hawthorn not by a long way over Fremantle, 13-5 to 8 goals 6. Platten a goal in that quarter, 3 for the game to the last change. North Melbourne against Sydney, and the Kangaroos came back a little bit. They're within 20 points. Sydney, can they hold on? They lead 11-11 to 8 goals 9, and Carey did get a couple of goals in that third quarter. And Melbourne and Fitzroy, the Demons 12-7-79, leading Fitzroy 6-7-43. Down on the boundary line, here's Neil Curley.
Well, it was great for a while there, Drew. Somebody opened the floodgates halfway through that quarter, and it's amazing what tall players can do to a football team. In the first half, we had people like Madden, Kernahan, Spalding, and Silvani all struggling or beaten, and all of a sudden, those 4 players in that particular quarter stood up and directed Carlton into a match-winning position. And of course, the tall players bring the smalls in, and Carlton's last 15 minutes was just too much for the Crows, who were standing back and watching instead of doing something about it. And, well, I'm hoping this quarter, but gee whiz, I just hate to think what could happen.
So, Adelaide, the Crows are they again, not we?
Oh, it's definitely they, but the they I'd like to talk about are, in fact, the smaller players for Carlton, along with Justin Madden, who I thought brought them in to that game in the third quarter. 7 possessions, of course, to Greg Williams, and 10 to Craig Bradley.
3 games tomorrow at the Gabba. Brisbane and Collingwood should be a beauty, and it'll be live in Brisbane. Eagles playing Footscray at Subi, and Geelong and St Kilda at the MCG. A 22-point lead to the Blues going into the last term. Madden wins the first hit out. Brown's hand pass went behind a teammate. Koutafidis clever. He's great at holding onto the ball with one hand. Williams on the bounce to Bradley. Bradley on the turn, a very high ball. Kernahan, unsighted in the first half. Welcome back, Sticks.
Once again, it was Craig Bradley. He had just an ordinary first half last week, and his third quarter was quite brilliant. And it's probably a similar situation here today, where he wasn't embarrassed in the first half. He was quite competitive, but he really did split him open in the third quarter, and Robert Shaw tried to get him out of the play by shifting Andrew Jarman to the forward pocket.
Kernahan for his first goal, and gets it. Well, viewers in South Australia would be hoping for the Crows, and there's a Carlton goal set up by Bradley, kicked by Kernahan, 2 South Australians.
Yeah, well, in a National League, that counts for nothing at this stage, but it's amazing the amount of chest marks Stephen Kernahan does take. He just gets that broad shoulders in front. He's got a couple of inches on Jamison, as you can see. And he probably still shouldn't have time to take a chest mark, however.
So the 9-time goal kicker at Carlton, leading goal kicker, kicks his first for the day. Koutafidis swats the ball out the air, and Nigel Smart takes it, squares the ball. Connell chips. Tasker has to sit and wait. There's enough carry on the ball, and Tasker's got it. Plays on quickly, off to McKinnon. McKinnon back into centre half forward. From behind, Rashudo, and a fantastic punch from Christo from behind. And there is a free kick being picked out back at that marking contest, and is in fact going to Mackay.
Well, that was for Rashudo, using him as a warhorse. He must have put 20 cents in the slot. He was on there that long.
Well, he actually went early, didn't he? It was probably the free kick. Kicks out wide to Koutafidis, and Koutafidis marks centre wing, chips into Spalding, and all of a sudden that pressure that the Crows had earlier in the game has just died off a bit. Smart a long way behind then. Does a do-si-do around Smart and kicks out wide. Lee punches the ball towards the boundary line and out of bounds. And Matt Clappe, number 6 goals today. Pretty good effort. And got him early when they were under the pump too.
He kept them in touch. And I've just been impressed with the way that Koutafidis has found some form when they needed it in this last 30 or 40 minutes of play.
And Clappe from that boundary throw-in kicks the ball around. Silvani almost on the chest. Brown gives it off. McLeod down in defence. Looks, kicks to space. Carlton players are really in the advantage here. And Mackay first there sees it over the line in front of Powell. Centre wing. And the Blues increase their margin with that only goal of this quarter so far to Stephen Kernahan. So boundary throw-in. Neither ruckman get it to Williams. Caught by McDermott. And there'll be a ball up. Almost the same spot. Up by Peter Carey. Bounces it down. Chalmers, quick hands. McGuinness very quiet in that third quarter. To McLeod. Pushes off cleverly. Wobbles the kick around, really. Peter Dean comes at hands and knees, but great recovery to get up. And he's been given the free kick. Just being in front at the right time is Peter Dean.
Today celebrating game 200. Well done to Peter Dean. And a special cheer from the Carlton fans. Up towards centre wing. Spalding back to Dean on the overlap. He kicked 5 goals from defence this year. The kick not well directed to Brown. Mark paid to Chalmers. Bit lucky. Into Hart. Adelaide needing to do something. Hart cornered. His kick to half forward. He's given it straight up to the opposition. High tackle was going to be paid to the Blues. Advantage goes to Whitehead. Now Bradley slowing things down at centre half back. Whitehead went round him in a big circle. Kick by Whitehead to half forward. Kernahan again coming right into the business. Stephen Kernahan too far out to score. Silvani leads and has it on the 50. He's got Madden in the goal square. He's hungry for more, Big Harry. Here he goes. He was buried up to his waist head first.
Is that a pole vault?
Oh, geez, been great though. And what an entertainer in 301 games.
Yes, Chris McDermott finds Andrew Jarman. Goes short to Connell through the middle. Crows building something here. Great kick to Rashudo. Great kick indeed. And Mark Rashudo very honest in the air and will kick from just inside the 50 by the time he gets this and goes back. So Rashudo with 3 goals in the second quarter and 1 in the third. And he got that early and then was starved of opportunities. But a full forward, if he can kick 5, is a pretty good day's work, considering the amount of chances he didn't get in that third quarter. So kicks from about 49 metres, and I think that's a goal because there's no noise.
Couldn't quite control it with one hand, and the ball out of play. Neil Curley down on the boundary line. What about Pittman?
Yeah, not too good, Drew. Slight worry or concern about his knee, and he's not anxious to go back on.
And there he is, David Pittman. Boundary throw in. Blues back into attack. Bradley a little hand pass. Clappe on the turn. Koutafidis! was in first class all the way for that fly.
Well, I guess, Malcolm, the question is how far can this bloke go as a footballer? He's got it all.
Yes, and I think it's one of the reasons, isn't it? He's had that ability today to lift. He was down a bit early, but certainly halfway through that third quarter, he was one of the players to lift.
Now for a goal to cap it off. Perfect. Second goal to Cooter. And mark of the day.
Yeah, I remember when he played one of his first very good games, you were commentating, Blighty, and as a ruck rover you said that his ability to take those overhead marks made you think that he could add a new dimension to midfield play, and you just think that he could go to centre-half forward, centre-half back, and then even go as a mobile ruckman. He's just so agile and mobile.
Yes, I first saw him playing centre-half back for the Carlton second sides a few years ago, and he impressed me then. Out of the centre, Dean overruns it. Brown caught up, and there'll be another bounce. Yes, he's really the shape for a modern footballer, isn't he? One of those 6'2", 2.5ers that really can play a lot of spots, as you've said. Madden clever. Red ends up with McCartney, stands and kicks, and I think has pulled that to the left, and perhaps an option of a handball was on, but he chose to kick it himself, and a point resulted. So 27-point margin to the Blues. Terrific kick from Christo. And Rice also very honest in the air. And I think he's gaining momentum too back in this Carlton side after injury.
We haven't seen him kick a bag for Carlton, but he kicked plenty of goals for St Kilda. Played full forward on a number of occasions, so he's added something to this Carlton side. And along with Clappe and Camporelli and Koutafidis and Ratton's improvement, they're a far different side going into the finals this year.
Yes, Lee's kick is beautifully marked by Dean. He really did work McCartney underneath the ball. Barry Mitchell got some important touches in that third quarter. Now it's the Carlton back line running. Sexton, Jarman punches it away from Bradley. Ends up on the ground. Camporelli, as he's inclined to do, just tapped the ball to himself in tight situations. And the ball out of bounds. Half forward flank for Carlton.
Prior to that behind by Adelaide, it had been a 57-point turnaround in one quarter of football. From the 8-minute mark third quarter to the 8-minute mark fourth quarter. Jarman goes back to Lee. Up to centre wing. Mark not taken. At the back, Whitehead. Floats one to Madden. On you, Harry. Brown. I don't know whether he really wanted that one. It's tunnelled out the back to Pesh. He's tackled high. The two number 16s. And a free kick to Nick Pesh. Can Adelaide come back? 27 points the margin. Rice at the back. Whitehead. Kick by Whitehead. Here's Ange Christou. Belted in the nose in the third quarter. He's recovered. Connell is there. Christou gave away the free kick. Advantage to Bickley. Short pass. Powell takes the mark. No, he doesn't. Good spoil by Rice. And in again, Dean Rice. Oh, terrific stuff. Ball up.
Yes, Carlton really don't want to give away another goal here. They're really fighting hard. Cross half back. Kick from to Christou was just so wide, made him have to stretch too far. Tapped over the back to McCartney, standing off the back of the pack, and he's grabbed high by Koutafidis in a pretty savage tackle. Jason McCartney will take this kick from some 40 metres from goal on about a 45-degree angle. Kick one goal in the second quarter. Yes, a very high tackle indeed. So McCartney back in after a 2-week suspension.
Pretty good in the first half.
Yeah, he was competitive, wasn't he? Just didn't get a lot of great kicks to him. It just didn't quite use. Although they played all right, Adelaide, just didn't think they kicked the ball that well to him. So McCartney kicks, gets underneath it a bit, and I would suggest has missed to the right again. So 1-3 to Jason McCartney, and 26 points margin now. Just over 10 minutes to go of this final quarter.
Kick by Christou, the woof, as he kicks in. Kudafides underneath it. Spalding and Bradley at the back. Braddles did it here last year, but this time he doesn't go for the bounce. Long kick. Kernahan. Oh, just brilliant. The way he shook off Jamison. Gets around Jamison. Goes for the goal. And misses to the right-hand side. I well remember. And Harry's coming off with the broadest grin you've ever seen and a standing ovation from the Blues fans.
I reckon he's played pretty well indeed. Beautiful kick. Chalmers just can't quite get there, and the ball is taken out of bounds. 55 metres around from the Carlton goal. So Spalding doing the ruck work with Chalmers. Kudafides just grabs it out there, feeds to Mitchell. Mitchell dwelt to Williams, to Bradley. Sounds familiar. To Brown.
Dean looking for a goal.
And this will go to the youngster again. So he's had one kick already, which was a point just before half-time. And Ben Harrison.
Actually, the crowd went, oh, they were disappointed that Dean didn't get that. Yes. They wanted a goal from the defender in his 200th. Still, be a nice consolation, a goal from the debutant.
So the 20-year-old. In his first game, his first kick was a point. He's going to kick it from 45 metres. Looked to be neat enough. Didn't quite hit it. It's going to wobble to Kernahan. Stephen Kernahan will do the formality of kicking it over Jamison's head for the Carlton's 19th goal.
With it here at Optus Oval. Chalmers actually wins in the middle. There's Harrison, the youngster. It goes to Williams. Little hand pass doesn't get through the pack, but he's going to get a free kick. He's a magician, no doubt about him. 20th disposal coming up for Williams. He won't be best on ground today. It won't be 3 more Brownlow votes. He's only won 2 Brownlows.
I'll back Kernahan in. I'll give you 2-1.
That he'll take this mark?
Yep.
Here he goes.
Great call, Jared Healy.
The money was well plonked.
Well, I've seen it happen 500 times in the last 3 years, and you just saw the way that all the Carlton players pushed that this vacant flank, or the close flank. They pushed the players out of that area and kept it open. And
you know what? He'd had 1 touch in the first half. That's his 8th mark. So hasn't he come good since the long break?
So's the scoreboard.
This for his 3rd goal. Kernahan, 50 metres out. Tried to give it plenty. Silvani's still there, and right on the line, Chalmers got a touch behind to the Blues. Yeah, great call, Jared.
Well, there's no doubt that Carlton have got their forward line set up, structure, set play, whatever you want to call it, just working a treat at the moment.
Jarman goes to McGuinness, who really has had quite a second half, like a few of the Crows players, and falls to Clappe. So Matt Clappe, I'm sure he'd like another one for 7. That's getting close to vote-getting stuff, isn't it? 7 goals from a half-forward flanker. 6 is probably there anyhow. He goes in short to guess who. I want to make a comment here, Jared. We'll just watch this. McGuinness almost marks it.
Thought he was still playing for Goodnell.
Kernahan just bowls him over. Terrific stuff. And there'll be a ball up. I just noticed in that early in this quarter, I mean, Smart has been a fair player early, just dropped off chasing Spalding, and you just get that one key forward doing that, and all of a sudden becomes a bit of disease.
Yeah, it was the point you made on Sports World last week, and it is contagious, isn't it? And
it is
something has certainly fallen away for the Crows, and all of those little things in footy add up to a win or a loss.
And Anthony Kudafides did go to play on then. Has the umpire noticed it? Yes, he has. Williams sets up Miller. Back to Kudafides. Quick kick. Silvani with the fly from the side. Falls to Dean. Dean trying to get the ball back in play up forward. But the ball's forced out of bounds. And a boundary throw in forward pocket. And Carlton now leading by some, gee whiz, 34 points.
Dean staying on the forward line. He's got 6.5 minutes left to get a goal.
Tap over the back.
Sorry, go.
Silvani ducks his head and gets through somehow. Kernahan caught, can't get the kick. Chalmers works hard to get the ball away Falling to Sexton. Smart behind. Tap back. Great second effort then from Smart. Tudor beats hard and footy. Sexton breaks clear onto the left foot. Wobbles it forward. Clappe grabs almost one hand. Falls to Chalmers. Sets up Lee. Lee doesn't look when he kicks it. And the ball just wobbles forward. Mackay gets McCartney out the way. Pushes it out wide. Tries to set up Sexton with a tap. And a free kick has actually gone back to Mackay. So Mackay will have to go back and take this kick at centre-half back.
Switches play to the broadcast side. Ange Christou comes up from defence to take the mark. And he's dragged Rashudo with him. So Adelaide haven't got one player inside the 50. Kick by Christou to centre-half forward. Kernahan. There's McDermott. Sticks his best mate. Here's Dean in the centre circle. The crowd want a goal from Dean. No risk. The mark's taken by Bickley. Through Connell it goes. And McKinnon floats one wide. McGuinness. Short pass and the mark taken by Powell. To centre-half forward. Two number 23s go hard at it. Rice, well played. Caught by Rashudo. He's not doing a lot to get it out. The umpire will ball it up. I think Rashudo had some justifiable claims there. It's 127-93, and we've got 5 1/4 minutes.
Powell off to Smart. Kicks and has missed. In fact, out of bounds. So there'll be a boundary throw in. Right by the Crows' goals, going to the Robert Heatley stand end. Nigel Smart now playing up forward. I'm not sure if that move was to cover up what he was doing at centre-half back or trying to lift him at centre-half forward. Anyhow, Rice being very aggressive. I've really been impressed with his game. And a fantastic smother then from McLeod on Whitehead. And the two youngsters get wearily up. Robert Shaw looks on. Carlton by 34 points. Less than 5 minutes. Mitchell. McLeod. Terrific snap. Is that a goal? No.
When it goes against you, it goes against you, and the ball just not bouncing right in any shape or fashion for the Adelaide Crows in this last quarter and a bit. But I guess the bottom line is you make your own luck in footy.
At quarter time the scores were level. At half time Adelaide by 15. 3/4 time it was Carlton by 22. And now it's Carlton comfortably. Mitchell goes to ground. Edwards up to Jarman. Little toe poke by Jarman to McGuinness, who takes the mark. 2 kicks to goal. Back to Jarman. Short pass. Rashudo. Half volley, no mark. Connell goes back outside the 50 to McGuinness. Gee, they fiddle about here. Rashudo from 49 metres. Smart is there and marks. Nigel Smart, a good mark right in front. But it'll be little consolation when he kicks this goal. Smart gets his second for the day.
Graham Honeybrook and Val Samuelson of Funeral Services of Wagga Wagga offer you more alternatives for a dignified service befitting your loved one. Honeybrook and Samuelson Funeral Services of Wagga Wagga at 2 Station Place. Phone 218 218.
Minutes to play. 27 points. Chalmers hits the ball forward. Smart attacks the footy. It doesn't bounce for him. It's given off to Bradley, who has just been fantastic, particularly in this second half. He really has got the motoring right when it was needed.
26 possessions.
Lynn to Silvani, who just can't quite get there. And McKinnon just peels off him. Unbelievably no pressure. Whitehead. Back to Silvani. Well, it's an easy game if no one's playing on you. And he kicks it to Clappe. Now, if I was Matt Clappe, Jared, I would actually have a shot.
Well, particularly when you're giving the vote.
Well, 6 would be a personal best already, so he's going into uncharted waters here.
I think the point you made about him kicking all those goals in the first half when it was in the balance was pretty valid.
That's coming back too. That's floating back. I think it's a goal. Marvellous effort, Matt Clappe. 7 goals. Carlton's 20th.
you saw the lack of pressure on Steve Silvani, something that has to be resurrected if the Crows are going to play 4 quarters and get a win. And bloody, you've sung this bloke's praises, and rightly so, because he's probably had his best ever day for Carlton.
Chalmers palms the ball straight to Ratton. Bradley tackled before the ball got to him just about. No whistle. It comes to Sexton. There's still time for you, Peter Dean. You've got to get forward, son. Lynn out forward of centre wing. He gets it going forward to Clappe. There's more here for Matt Clappe. Gets one in the middle of the back. His hand pass goes straight to Lee. He's pulled off it by Lynn. Williams dispossesses Jarman. Great footy. Kick by Williams. Disappointing. Looking for Bradley. Chalmers marks. Back out to Jarman. Into Bickley. Over the top, Matt Connell. McLeod, 60 metres from goal. Thumps it long. 2-1 in Carlton's favour. Here's Peter Dean. Fair goal if he kicks one from here.
Well, indeed. Christo out to Whitehead. And he goes short to Ben Harrison. Harrison to Bradley. And the kick is not well directed. And McCartney easily knocks it out of bounds. Centre wing. In the dying minutes of this game, in what really was up to half-time and halfway through that second quarter, a terrific game of football, and then the sting was taken out with a great third quarter by Carlton. Jarman caught underneath. The blue tape's an interesting colour.
It's a war paint.
Yeah, the sun's gone down here now.
Chief Jars.
33-point margin. Dean punches it forward. He's done that a few times today. Given away to Mackay. Mackay kicks long. Tasker back onto it. Underneath it, looking for support. Ben Hart caught by Fraser Brown. And there'll be a ball up 55 metres around from the Carlton goal. So perhaps time for Carlton to get one. Handball. Series of handballs. Ends up with a kick. Kernahan from behind. Punched away. McDermott on his hands and knees looks pretty tired. So does Williams. And Chris McDermott will get the free kick. Just forward to centre half back.
Brad Pearce just did the jog around the boundary line to go to the rooms, and whistles and standing and cheering. Carlton fans love him. Dean got one into this. It comes to the back to Sexton. Oh, beautifully shepherded. Sexton has a clear path. Thumps it long to Koutafidis. There's more in store here for the Blues. Less than a minute to go. Kouta, in he comes to Harrison. Little left footer to Kernahan on the bounce. Straight past him. Here's Clappe looking for more. Jamison. And the ball out of play for a throw-in.
They're pretty keen, the Blues crowds. They were calling for a deliberate that time. And let's just see if it was justified. Ah, no, it was close enough lead disguised.
Jarman gets through the pack. Still got the ball. Ratton's got him. And the umpire will ball it up. So 20 seconds remaining in the game. It's 133 to 100. And when you consider that at one stage, Adelaide led by 29 points. Kernahan. Jarman to Connell. McCartney hooks the ball over the back. Overrun by Whitehead. Siren. The Blues have won again. And somehow Adelaide have contrived to lose by 6 goals. Carlton 20-13. Adelaide 15 goals 10. Koutafidis took the mark of the day. Stephen Silvani went to the forward line and finished up kicking a couple of goals.
Yeah, it was an interesting move, Silvani to fall forward. I guess if Carlton had gone down, there may have been some criticism that it reflected some panic by Carlton, but in the end it was the match-winning move, I thought. And I guess that's the life of a coach. If it comes off, you're a genius, and if you don't, well, you're open to criticism. But Andrew Jarman, well, he was probably shaded today by Craig Bradley. I thought his greater running power and ability to get the football and deliver it was a significant factor in Carlton's resurgence in that third quarter. And it was just one of those remarkable games where everything was just going for the sake of Adelaide, but quickly it changed. And down on the boundary line, Neil Curley.
Yeah, thanks, fella. Well, Stephen, took a while to get going today. Bit of a letdown from last week, you feel?
Well, I don't think it's ever a letdown, Kells. I mean, we expected Crows to come out, they got nothing to lose, and we know they all can play good football, and, they could have 5 goals in front early, so, I mean, they obviously play pretty good footy.
Half-time, bit of thinking down the room by the coach?
There was some very loud words spoken, I know that, Kells, and it showed a bit of character.
Let you go, my boy.
Yeah, that's a no-win situation there. He's been swamped, Stephen Kernahan. What a Carlton legend. Leading goal kicker every year he's been here since he came from Adelaide, and looks like doing it again as he approaches 50 for this season. Carlton, 2013, 133. Adelaide, 15-10, 100.
For the first exciting action-packed time on television.
Now you want me to spy on her?
Roy Scheider, trapped in a world of terrorism.
Do it! Scary. Khalif. Deadly.
Kidnapping, treachery and tough choices.
This man is dangerous.
From best-selling author Wilbur Smith.
Remember, no matter what.
Passionate, love and hate, life and death, face-to-face with intrigue and fear.
Been there before.
With a climax to take your breath away. Wild Justice, 8:30 tonight on Prime.
Hi, I'm Don Lane with one of our hottest selling products, Demtel's King's Collection of Knives. Now, thousands of you, obviously satisfied customers, have already snapped up these little beauties. But if you haven't, don't miss out on this opportunity to do so. And if you already own a set, think about what a different gift idea they could make. Now, who wouldn't want this set of stainless steel knives that will stay sharp and slice effortlessly through veggies, bread, and meat, as well as cut through frozen food? Now, that handle is tough, and it's designed to last for ages. The ultra-resilient stainless steel blade stays sharp even after cutting through leather or even wood. Now, I don't know where you can do better than that. In this terrific offer, you'll also get a matching knife with a flexible blade that's great for those delicate jobs like filleting fish. And if that's not enough, what about this paring knife and this really useful cleaver? Now, how handy will that one be? These are some of the sharpest knives you'll ever need to own in your kitchen. We'll also include a ham slicer, a butcher's knife, and a boner, as well as this cheese knife. Now look, it's priced at almost $100, but you'd better be quick because we've cut that in half at just $49.95. So get on that phone now. But wait a minute. Here's a Butte bonus offer. If you ring $1311.99 today, we'll even give you these 8 matching steak knives. And they're priced at $30 by themselves. Great for barbecues. But what you've got to do is ring us in the next 15 minutes, and we'll even include this 2-piece carving set. Now, these are some of the most useful, sharpest knives you will ever own. 8 matching steak knives for barbecuing and a 2-piece carving set. What more could you want for $49.95? Oh, and don't forget to ask about our very handsome wooden knife block that could house the entire set. Ring $1311.99, that's $1311.99, and you needn't send any money. We'll send you the bill. Throw those dull knives out and get yourselves the super sharp King's Knives collection, but hurry and ring now.
Be a winner at Harvey Norman, your home office specialist. Buy any computer item for $250 or more and win up to $250 cashback discount. What a deal. Hurry in for an Apple Macintosh Performer LC 580 multimedia computer with CD-ROM and loads of software, including Spin Doctor Challenger, now priced just $26.95. Maybe the unprecedented power of the Performer 5200 multimedia computer is more your style. Comes with 15-inch monitor, again loads of software included, just $35.95, and you could win up to $250 cashback discount.
At Harvey Norman.
Your financial security can be assured when you deal with Ingram Sutton Financial Services. Pat Ingram and Doug Sutton are conducting AMP insurance and financial services for the Wagga region from new premises at 88 Morgan Street, Wagga. From green slips to retirement planning and all your investment and insurance needs, see Ingram Sutton Financial Services. Don't trust your financial future to just anyone. With almost 25 years combined experience serving the local community, Pat and Doug can provide you with financial peace of mind. Ingram Sutton Financial Services, 88 Morgan Street, Wagga.
Well, it was a 62-point turnaround for the Blues. They trailed by 29 and won by 33. 20 goals 13 to 15 goals 10. Matt Clappe had his best ever day. He kicked 7. Spalding kicked 3. And for the Crows, Mark Rasciuto had his best day this year. He kicked 5 goals, but it was one that got away for the Crows.
It was, and it was quite an astonishing turnaround, really, because halfway through the third quarter, when the Crows came out and kicked the first couple of goals, I thought it was a matter of the Blues are just having one of those days, but to their credit, they turned it round. A number of players lifted, In particular, I thought Craig Bradley had his best quarter, had a very good game. Barry Mitchell also found the football, and Steve Silvani at full forward just gave them that extra option because Stephen Kernahan wasn't getting near the ball. And with Koutafidis firing on one wing, he had Kernahan and Silvani kicking some goals in that third quarter, and all of a sudden the Crows just fell away. And I guess you'd have to say that Robert Shaw would be pretty disappointed, not with the loss so much, but once again with the dramatic drop-off in intensity and form. If they're going to win games here in Melbourne, they've just got to, like Adelaide, play for 4 quarters. But you've got to take your hat off to Kernahan. He's a remarkable player. You've mentioned that he's been their leading goal kicker on every year he's been at Carlton. What a player that bloke is on screen. But at half-time, he was the one reason I thought Carlton could win the game, because Kernahan hadn't been near the footy. And
well, we had 2 Brownlow medalists in the commentary team today. We gave Blighty the chance to vote, and he's given 1 to Mark Rosciuto, 5 goals, 2 to Craig Bradley, and 3 votes to Matt Clappe, the former West Coast Eagle, who kicked 7 goals today. A terrific performance. And we'll be back here after a short break.
There's a new power at Holden, a brilliant new V6 engine, the Ecotec V6. Delivering more power using less fuel. So much less, it now rivals many big 4-cylinder cars. A revolutionary new power that won't cost you the earth. The new Holden Commodore with Ecotec V6. The new power. There's nothing quite like a Holden.
If there was a milkier chocolate with no artificial ingredients, and it came in portion-controlled fingers, you could give them a chocolatey treat now and then, couldn't you? Milky Way Children's Chocolate. Now there's a milkier way.
Welcome back to Melbourne. A game out at Waverley today between the Hawks and the Fremantle Dockers. Some highlights of the second half.
Kick it. Runs past the centre circle. A very high kick inside the 50. Hutton from the side. Hutton again close to the man on the mark, but this is a better effort. It's straight. It's a goal. Man couldn't hang on. It rolls out to Langford to Bone. Kicks inside the 50. Hudson.
Well, have a look at his eyes. You always look at their eyes.
Hudson. It's a goal.
Just about have to give Langford a vote today, Dennis.
Hargraves inside the 50. Play the mark. His best effort this season, 5 against Fitzroy in round 13. He should convert from here, and he does. 2 goals to Hudson.
Well, the Hawks beat the Dockers. They kicked 5 goals to 3 in the last quarter and won 18-10 to 11 goals 8, the 5th loss in a row for Fremantle. Minton Connell got 4 for the Hawks, Platten kicked 3, and for Fremantle, McManus kicked 4, and Hutton kicked 3 goals. Now we go to the MCG in the game between North Melbourne and the Sydney Swans. The last time we saw it, the Swans were in front, and let's take a look at some highlights of the second half. Here go North, a centering kick by Rock. Matty Armstrong bursts through the pack near the 50, balks the hand pass and goes for goal and kicks it. North into attack again. Disputed mark off the pack, Trent Nichols with a bounce, runs away from Lewis inside the 50 with a second bounce. A terrific goal. He's great coming off the bench, Nichols. But now in the last quarter and the Swans moving forward. Through the skipper, Kelly. Lockett can't quite take the mark. It gets through the pack to McRae. A snap for goal by McRae is a goal. Swans again. Lockett can't mark. Bayes floats a hand pass, and Crawford, the youngster. Crawford kicks the goal for the Swans. And what about this for a scoreline? Sydney beating North Melbourne. Sydney 16-17, 113. North 12-12, 84. And Tony Lockett was the leading goal scorer for the Sydney Swans. He kicked 5, so the Swans kicked 16 without a big bag by Tony Lockett. Now, let's take you to our final game today, and it's Melbourne against Fitzroy, and some highlights of the second half. The Lions going into attack. Through Zanotti. Jeff Hogg takes the mark, the former Richmond captain, now with Fitzroy. He's been largely disappointing for the Lions, but here he caps off his mark with a goal. Melbourne move forward. Through Uze, number 44, playing his third game, and the skipper, Gary Lyon, takes the mark right in front. And never one to let the side down, kicks truly. Now, David Neitz, here with a set shot. How far out? 51 metres. Post height at the Western Oval. Great kick. Melbourne forward again. That's Sean Smith up. Gary Lyon, kick partly smothered. Edge of the goal square, Sampson across to Tingay, and Tingay snaps the goal. Final score at the Western Oval, and it was Melbourne 20-11, 131, defeating Fitzroy 7 goals, 8-50, leading goal scorers. Lyon kicked 6 for Melbourne, Neitz kicked 4, and for Fitzroy, Johnson kicked 3 goals. Well, it's been a busy day here. Neil Curley's gone from absolute elation to despair, but anyway, here he is.
Thank you, Drew. Well, as all the people back in Adelaide saw with their own eyes, it was a great start by the Crows, but they weren't able to go on with it. And speaking to Stephen Kernahan in the room, Coach David Parkin at half-time had very, very strong words, and he just laid the responsibility onto a few players, and they react in a very, very good way, and that's why Carlton, of course, are on top of the ladder. A couple of minor injuries, Pearce with a slight concussion, and Pittman with a slight knee strain, but apart from that, both sides came out of it reasonably well.
There's no other place we'd rather be. There's no other place we'd rather be.